I wish you would take pens. Just teasing. No, I gave her a pen. No, but that's our running joke because I literally make sure I have 2 pens before I leave for the board.
Brian, we're good? Thank you. Welcome, everybody, little ones included. Happy Tuesday to the Marlboro Township Board of Education regular meeting. Today is May 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at Marlboro Memorial Middle School. Good evening, Vin.
Good evening, Dr. Hill.
Can you call the order, please?
Sure. Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Vin.
Hi, Vin.
So roll call, Mrs. Amster, Mrs. Branch,
Here.
Mr. Petrucci,
Holy smokes.
Ms. Piernick,
Here.
Mrs. Rosado,
Here.
Mrs. Shrem,
Here.
Mrs. Salaci,
Here.
Mrs. Strafasi,
Here.
and Dr. Heller.
Here. Okay. I think it's working. Who knows? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will now read the Sunshine Law. Be advised that this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, Sunshine Law, and that the adequate notice of a date, time, and agenda has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the news transcript, and has been posted and filed with the Marlboro Township Clerk. Copies have also been sent to each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. I am not going to read in full, but I'm going to bring to your attention to the statement of videotaping of public portion of the Board of Education meetings. Public comment statement. No smoking or vaping on school grounds. Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Positive quote. Starting each day with a positive mindset is the most important step of your journey to discovering opportunity. Jay Samet. We are now going to welcome some of our amazing students from Dugan. Let's allow the administration to introduce themselves and their students. Thank you.
Over here. Perfect. Everyone's good.
We should give a moment and make them all smile. Smile for the pictures first.
Very nice.
Okay, good evening, Dr. Hibbs, Dr. Heller, Board of Education members, District Administration, Marlboro community in attendance and watching on YouTube. I stand before you this evening as the proud yet humbled principal of Dugan Elementary School and of these exemplary Dugan Dragons who will be sharing their reasons for being here in the next couple of moments. Also accompanying us and our students this evening is our Dugan Vice Principal, Mr. Lee Moscow, and our stellar school counselor, Mrs. Lindsay Balava. A brief video has been prepared by Dugan's media literacy teacher, Mr. Jay Seibert, that will highlight how classroom and school-wide activities promote positive choices online to ensure students understand how to best maintain a clean digital footprint. At Dugan, our students are encouraged to think, T-H-I-N-K, before engaging in online activities and especially before posting to social media. We ask them to ask themselves, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Following that video, our Dugan Dragons will share the exact words that their teachers wrote about them when nominating them for this month's character pillar, Digital Citizenship. We hope you enjoy. We'll start with the video.
Welcome to Frank J. Dugan Elementary School, home to almost 650 digital natives. Born into a digital world, just beginning to learn how to navigate it. They look to their elders for guidance. Truth is, we're still learning to navigate it ourselves. So we embark on this journey together, sharing our triumphs and shortcomings, learning from one another as we become digital citizens.
Don't go on websites that I should not go on. I always do when I'm on the website that I'm supposed to be on.
Like, don't just click on random websites.
I don't fool around on my computer when my teacher tells me to not to. I help others with technology by, like, if something is wrong with their computer, say like ST Math, then I help them do it.
And now we'll hear from our students who are here in person.
My name is Noah. I am in kindergarten, and here is what my teacher, Mrs. Hershon, said about me. Noah always uses his iPad responsibly. He is willing to help others troubleshoot when things go wrong. Noah enjoys technology and is eager to use the program to support his learning.
My name is Christina. I am in second grade, and here's what my teacher, Mrs. Lester, said about me. Christina knows how to responsibly use technology by respecting all computer rules, educating her classmates, and protecting her Chromebook, as well as our class headphones and mic.
My name is Annika. I am in 5th grade, and here's what my teacher, Miss Leach, said about me. Annika is a conscientious student who uses her Chromebook responsibly, as well as using technology to enhance her learning. She's always willing to lend a hand to classmates to help when they are having issues.
My name is Ava, and I am 1st grade, and here is what my teacher, Mr. Franco, said about me. Ava is always responsible when using her Chromebook. Ava is able to navigate through all her online programs each day without needing any help. Ava is a digital role model.
My name is Bryson. I am in 3rd grade, and here's what my teacher, Ms. Kiki, said about me. Bryson is an excellent student. He is always on topic and doing the assigned task. I have never caught him doing something he shouldn't. He shouldn't be doing on his Chromebook. He uses his Chromebook the correct way and is always respectful of the teacher. Bryson always completes every activity to the best of his ability. Trying his. He is always willing to helping hand to the teacher and his classmates. Bryson is an amazing digital citizen role model for younger students. Good job. My name is Giovanna. I am in 3rd grade, and here is what my teacher, Miss Castro, said about me. Giovanna is very deserving of this award. I can always depend on Giovanna to stay on task while completing assignments. This often inspires any of her classroom partners to do so as well. Giovanna is thoughtful about her use of the Chromebook and internet. Giovanna is always willing to help others in the classroom, including with technology. She uses all apps and websites appropriately and can always be trusted to do so.
My name is Jonathan. I am in 4th grade, and here is what my teacher, Dr. Price, said about me. Jonathan demonstrates digital citizenship on a daily basis. He uses all technology responsibly and respects and follows the rules regarding the use of Chromebooks and assigned technology. Jonathan is trustworthy and follows directions while working online. He makes great use of his time and can be trusted to make the right choices when working independently. Jonathan is very tech savvy and is the first to lend a helping hand to his classmates who are unsure how to complete a task or navigate their way through a variety of school online programs. He is very deserving of this award.
My name is Christian, and I am in the 5th grade, and here's what my teachers, Miss Nalvin and Mr. Main, said about me. Christian shows great digital citizenship. Not only does he use his Chromebook responsibly during class time, but he went above and beyond to inform teachers and his principal about a Chromebook issue that he knew how to solve.
Thank you for having us this evening. Let's hear it for our Dugan Dragons.
Great job, guys.
Congratulations.
That's all. That's awesome job, guys. Thank you for being good citizens to the community within your schools, okay? That's awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have Mr. Balone do student impact.
Thank you, Dr. Heller.
Sure.
Following with the same theme of digital citizenship, throughout this academic year, MTPS students continuously learned about the importance of the safe and responsible use of technology, including, as our Dugan Dragon said, maintaining a clean digital footprint. While we saw what was specifically happening in Dugan, each school throughout the district offered many unique opportunities for students to engage in lessons that taught students important lessons about digital citizenship to ensure that students were using technology in positive and impactful ways. In May, instructional technology coaches Heather Weinshank and Sharon Julian created and promoted district-wide Spirit Days focusing on the digital citizenship theme to promote a positive online presence, thinking, and I love the acronym that Dugan used, before posting online, and the importance of having a clean digital footprint. So let's take a quick look at how across the district, students stay positive with a clean digital footprint.
You can exercise and play with your pet if you have one.
Outside because the air is good for your lungs.
You can play with your toys or color.
I like playing bingo.
I can go play a board game.
You can ride a bicycle.
I do chores.
You could also take a little nap before dinner.
I can play pool with my dad in the basement.
I help my mom clean up the house.
I can go in the basement with my brother and we can jump on my air track.
You can go outside outside and have dinner.
You can ride your bike.
You can play outside with your friends and go try something new. You can read.
You can go outside and play and do sports.
You could draw.
You could go outside and enjoy the fresh air and like hang out and like relax.
It's too much screen time. It's bad for your eyes.
Nap before dinner sounds amazing.
I know. I'm on board.
Thank you, Mr. Bull. Well, thank you very much to all the students, and thank you for everything you do. But what I want to do for you kids and family, enjoy the rest of the 45 minutes outside. So what I want to do is I want to make a motion for 5 minutes to recess to allow the parents and the students to exit if they so choose. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jen, any discussion? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, I see the ayes have it. We will be taking a 5 minutes recess. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, kids.
I know, Shrem, Salachi, Strapasi.
I know, there's a lot.
I know,
Well,
I should have stayed McCabinet just to like make his life easier. I know, I don't know what I was thinking. Take
so funny.
Yeah, it is cold.
You want mine?
It is.
Okay. Okay, we're back. Vin, can you please call to roll?
Sure. Mrs. Branch?
Here.
Mr. Petruno? Ms. Piernick?
Here.
Mrs. Rosato?
Here.
Mrs. Shrem?
Here.
Mrs. Salachi?
Here.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Here.
And Dr. Heller?
Here. Thank you, Vin. Vinny, motor vehicle abstract, please.
All abstracts were run and all privileges in good standing.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to move on to Dr. Hibbs. Can you please present the ESS substitute services, please? Or is it you or? Okay. Mr. Balone.
Good evening again. So as promised, we wanted to compile some data from ESS, our substitute company, and we promised that we would come back at this meeting and present that data to you, at least the data that we have to date, and what our plans and options are for moving forward. So tonight we're going to discuss some of the recruitment efforts that we've already done, that they have done as well. We're going to talk about our fill rates and new substitutes, a summary of the results, some of our successes and also challenges, and then where we're headed for the future. So for starters, from a recruitment lens, we've done, I'm sure all of you have now seen lawn signs at all of our buildings. They were placed at every school. We actually modified them a little bit. We put a QR code at the bottom right-hand portion of those signs so people could easily access the Marlboro-specific job application website, so it brings them directly to Marlboro. It doesn't just bring them to the general ESS site and have them walk through and just become an ESS employee. It's specific to us. We held a job fair at Marlboro Middle School on April 27th, which was very successful in our eyes. More than 20 people attended. I think it was about 22 or 23 at latest count. And I'm actually going to jump down to the left. I normally don't go out of order like this, but it's a good segue into our job fair. I want to publicly thank Lynn Franco and Marlboro Township for assisting us in getting the word out. A lot of those people, those 20 plus people who were at that event, came directly from Marlboro Township's distribution list, so that worked out really well. ESS also partners with colleges and universities to attract students enrolled in teacher prep courses. Also digitally, online job boards, Indeed, New Jersey School Jobs, K-12 Job Spot are some of the popular ones. And then last but not least, there is a referral program out there. So anyone, yes, anyone in this room, anyone in the district, anyone in the community, you actually get your own personalized ESS link. And then if you refer someone and they actually start, right, so they have to start working, you get $100 from ESS. So there is a referral program. Go ahead, Mr. Apollon will also jump in as you see fit. Go ahead.
Yes, very quickly, I just wanted to provide more information in regards to the job fair that we had on April 27 at the middle school. So we had, as Mr. Balone mentioned, we had about 22 individuals that were there. Myself, Dr. Hibbs, and Mr. Balone was there as district representative. We worked with Mr. Patrick Menzi, the ESS district representative, to assist all of the individuals that were there. Our goal was to make sure that if they had any questions, any issues with the onboarding process, that we were there to provide them a platform so that they can complete all that they had to complete. A lot of the candidates that were there expressed great interest in being part of ESS, but as Mr. Balone mentioned, their intention was to work for the district. This was what they were looking for, and we wanted to make sure that as district representative, that we were there to assist as best as possible. Another thing, the lawn sign. were very successful. That's one thing that a lot of them mentioned to me. It was very easy for them to use the QR code and eventually find the information for the job fair.
Great, thank you. Fill rates. So this slide is really just showing you fill rates from, we basically took January as a starting date, just so we didn't have to look at too large of a span here. So January and February, which was prior to ESS implementation, our fill rates personally in the district were in January 43.5, and then February 45.4. So statistically pretty consistent. As we moved on, early March is when ESS came on board with us. Our fill rate jumped up to 51.3, and then April, 54.8. So that's an 11% increase from January when we did not have ESS. You can look at, just as a side-by-side comparison, which is a combination of those two previous slides that I just showed you. So again, you can see from that 43.5 all the way up to 54.8. Still not where we want it to be. So let's make no mistake about it. However, we have seen a pretty significant improvement in those 4 months. So in summary, 177 assignments have been covered by new ESS subs as of the data that was pulled here. Over the last 3 weeks, we are averaging over 24 daily new ESS substitutes in our buildings. So the first week that they were with us, they were averaging, or they had 8. So from week 1 until this latest data, we're now at 24, so we've tripled the number of daily subs in our schools since starting with ESS. Again, not where we want to be, but we have tripled.
Can we ask questions now or wait till the end?
Doesn't matter to me. Do you have a question? Sure.
Yeah, just so I understand. So 24 daily new subs. So it's a two-part question. One is, that seems high. Is that common for us to need that many subs in a day? And then 2, you said we're doing our best to fill it. So does that mean that there's spots that are still open?
Yes.
And what are you doing to fill those open spots?
Okay, so that was 3 questions. So the first one
Okay.
is that, is it normal? And that seems like a lot of subs.
Yeah.
So we need more than 24.
Yeah. On a daily basis, that's normal for us?
8 buildings.
8 buildings, yeah. That's
Pre-COVID, no, but now post-COVID, yeah. COVID, yes.
Yeah, even,
COVID
8
world.
buildings, you have a few people out in each building, you're at 24 right there.
Okay.
So yeah, and we actually have the need to fill more. We probably could double that number and still be, our fill rate would be better, but we would still probably need a few fillers here and there. Okay, now I lost track of questions 2 and 3.
How are you filling it?
No, if that is the number right now that you're filling, what are you doing with the empty
Yeah,
spots?
so empty spots are fail to fills.
Uh-huh.
So what we do is we do a combination of things. We pull teachers, hopefully not too much, right? Teachers who do not have student rosters or have classes during that time. So let's take teachers who don't normally have a student roster, like a coach, right? Literacy coach, math coach, tech coaches, administrators. Then we pare that down because those people also have jobs and we don't want to devalue those jobs and they have a lot to do. So then we'll pull some G&T teachers at the elementary level especially, some special ed teachers, but that's sort of down the line. ICR first, obviously, so we can, we have another teacher in the room anyway. But those are sort of last resorts, and then we also pay teachers to give up their preps. So when we pay a teacher to give up a prep period, I'm just going to use an average number. It's about $50 a period, times 8 periods is $400 a day. Go ahead.
Okay. Another thing that we are doing, we have substitute floaters. Their purpose is simply to be in the building to assist the school as best as possible wherever there is a need. In regards to the number of assignments that we have available, one thing that we have to keep in mind is at the end of the school year, That is when we have a lot of our teachers who are using their paid time off, such as vacation days, personal days, sick days. So unfortunately, when you add all of that, the number of assignments are a lot more, especially at the end of the school year.
I have one more question, if that's okay. The $100 that's being paid for the referrals, is that coming from the Marlboro budget, or is that coming from ESS?
ESS. ESS.
Kathleen? Not Kathleen. Christina, and then Alba.
I was wondering, I think I asked this before, now I can't remember, but ESS also has specialized, like, special education professionals within their company? Is that, do we, like, know that for a fact?
So they don't
licensed?
provide license per se. They don't provide a licensed special education teacher because they are substitutes.
Okay.
So they could, but that's not a prerequisite to be in a special education room.
I'm just wondering, just because I know the culture that we're in, I know the situation that every district is in right now with the shortages. But I also know, you know, just from friends speaking to them, a lot of integrated classes, the special education teacher is absent and there's not anyone there to cover that special education teacher. Then that child who has an IEP is then not getting what they need from the day. So I'm wondering how do we make sure that that's not happening as much as it potentially can?
So I know the reality is if a special education teacher is absent, that certainly could happen, and you know what's happening
Right.
because you're talking to people.
I do.
What we try to do is minimize that to the extent that we can. We can't minimize it completely because life happens. Special education teachers get sick just like general education teachers get sick. So we do the best that we can. If we can pull teachers to cover that, maybe there's a special education teacher who is willing to give up a prep period and doesn't conflict with their own schedule, then we certainly look for that as well.
My other thing is, I don't know the ins and outs of ESS, but I was wondering, now that we're signed on with ESS, are we not able to, let's say, we know retirees that were licensed in special education, they worked in the Marlboro schools. Are we able to ask them to come back to substitute, or do we have to now go through ESS before we can just like call up Marcia,
Well, if we call Marcia.
I'm making it up.
Right, but using your example, we could call Marcia and say, Marcia, we'd love to have you back. You're retired, you're a special education teacher. You would just have to be employed by ESS as a daily sub if that's what you're looking for, and we would assist her in doing that.
Is that process hard for them? Like, is it?
No, it really isn't. It's all online, and ESS actually sits with them. We actually did it when we were at the job fair, so it was actually good for us to see the process, especially for someone. Where it's difficult is, I can think of one woman I was helping who's actually a Marlboro resident and was very excited to be back, to be in the school district. She was a teacher a while ago. When your transcripts are so far back that maybe your school shut down and now you have to track all of your documentation, because there is a fair amount of documentation that they require because we want our students to be safe and be in front of a person who has all I's dotted and T's crossed. She had some difficulty. School was shut down. It was out of state. It was several years ago, so ESS had worked with her to kind of work through that process, and they have contacts at the state levels, even in other states. They even have contacts across the world. If someone comes with an international degree, they have a very, very good network of individuals they work with to figure out what documents are needed, and they get them for them. So I know they had helped her out and walked through that process, but generally speaking, if you have your transcripts and you know where they are and you can upload them, it's a pretty simple process.
Okay, last question.
Mm-hmm.
The 20 plus candidates that you met at the job fair, has anyone reached out and gone through like, yep?
Yes. What we did, under Dr. Hibbs' guidance, we made sure to reach out to every single one of them. One of my staff took the time to call each and every single one of them and see if they had any questions or concern. And if they did, then they could come to central office so that we can assist as best as we can. And if the information we didn't have right then and there, then we reach out to the ESS representative so that that individual came in and sit down with them to go over any questions or concerns.
So are they signed then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Up with that, so how many of those individuals are part of our team now, or
we could confirm.
5?
I don't have that number,
Oh.
but I can get it for you.
Yeah, it's not a big
I'll
number.
send it to the entire board.
But there are people.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Aldo?
Yeah, so, thanks, Randy. Real quick, so the 24 a day, we started with 8 a day, you were saying, and now we're at 24. How many of those, are those all like from their pool, or were they, how many were existing Marlboro?
There are a few overlapping people, especially in the beginning. Those 8, I think a lot of them were overlapping, but again, I don't have the breakdown in front of me, but I can get that for you. Out of the 24, how many were not Marlboro people? How many were newly
like how many
brought
were,
from ESS?
Right,
I can get
many,
that for you. Can you jot that down for me as well? I'll get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, so, I'm sorry, I'm just taking in the information as I'm coming with the questions, but of the 20, we don't have a figure on how many of the 20 people that came to the job fair ended up signing on. Now, I don't know that they would technically be considered our team because they go to the pool, right? They wouldn't, or would they be? Is that correct?
I'm not sure what question you're asking.
Like if you came to the job fair and signed up, you would go into the pool of ESS subs, but we did add to the pool.
Yes.
At that. Okay. What's the recommendation? I mean, I'm just looking at this. So we went, I mean, we're paying a significant amount of money to them to go up 11%. We're looking at just in the $30 a day fees, I'm calculating $720 a day we're giving them in just their $30 fee, which is over $14,000 a month with a 20-day month, and 10 months a year is $144,000 we're paying them. Do you guys think it's worth $144,000 for 11%?
So we're actually going to speak, we have kind of the moving forward. We'll get through, I'll come back to that question and hopefully it's answered by the end. If not, we can certainly revisit.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure. So some of the successes that we've had, they've increased our daily coverage by approximately 27%. Pay for teacher prep periods has significantly decreased, which is a point, Mr. Petruno, I wanted to make. Mr. Caravello, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of using estimates here. I want to say in a 2-week period, maybe about a month and a half ago, it was about $26,000 the district was paying.
23 to 26,000 a pay period, so that's for
And
2 weeks.
And isn't it based on their average, because it's an hourly rate? So if someone's making $900,000, then that's how it's calculated as far as what they're paying for that time, correct?
So when we pay for teacher prep,
yes.
Yeah, if you're on step 14, you make more per period than
it goes
someone
by
on step 1.
rate.
Significant. Yeah. Okay.
It's significant.
Okay,
It's,
that's what I'm trying
on
to
average, you're paying about $400 a day. If you were to work 8 periods, about $50. Some people get $72
right. I was
per
just going to say,
period.
some good people get 90
Correct.
at some point.
Right,
Yeah.
if you had a class that needed coverage and we didn't have a sub, you figure you would have to pull at least 8 different teachers
Yeah.
or a handful of different teachers, so 8
And to
missed
put
periods in prep.
to put that in perspective, so at that, call it $23,000 to $26,000, we're down in the $5,000 range right now.
Right, but you more willing, from my experience, is that the seasoned teacher would be more willing to cover.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to get a higher
getting more.
percentage.
Yes.
More.
Mm-hmm.
So that would come out to not really $50. It could.
Yeah, I was giving you an average, but yes.
Right. Okay. I just want to.
Could be 50, could be 70, could be 90. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this increase, again, 27% is not where we want to be. However, we can't ignore the fact that we have more people in our buildings post-ESS versus pre-ESS. So that also translates to fewer instances of pulling teaching staff like coaches, special ed teachers, anyone without a roster, G&T teachers. Some of our challenges, which I'll call it, I'm sure the nation is dealing with, but we can even just speak to New Jersey. Every single school in New Jersey is dealing with these issues right now. I know that doesn't make it any better or make you feel any better, but that's the reality, kind of like gas prices. We also have to take into account that we started with ESS in March. And we've talked about this before. Typically substitutes, let's call it September, October, they start working in a school building or a district, they get comfortable, they get to know the principal, administration, other staff members, they feel comfortable going back to that school. We kind of inserted ourselves in the game in March and said, hey, come work for us, we're really great. And for the most part, people are saying, the devil I know is you know, this is where I want to be. So we're hoping, and I'll stress the word hope, we are hoping that that makes a real change come summertime as ESS does more events over the summer, and then September and all of next year, things really turn around to a level of fill rates that we really want to see. Fewer fail to fills, so we don't have to go out to our own teachers to fill, either paying preps or pulling from classes. So those are the two major hurdles that we're hoping. So the March excuse will go away next year. And I'm not sure the first bullet point will go away of New Jersey schools having difficulty with subs, but we're hoping, we have a big hope that starting in September will at least alleviate some of that for us.
So is it too early to say the retention rate with regards to the current, because it's a small...
It's such a small window right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can pull that as we get more data.
Right, because what you were saying is that, you know, we want to make sure that they come,
Yep.
but also stay.
Mm-hmm.
So if that would be, so it's too early, basically.
Yeah, it's a little early for that.
Okay.
Mike,
Yes.
the money that we were paying for the prep periods, the 23 to 26,000, was that was pre or post before signing on with ESS?
That was pre-ESS. That was one of the reasons why we felt like we had to address the substitute issue in a different manner than what we were doing, because we were just seeing there was 1 month where it was over $50,000 in prep.
Yeah, the 26 is a 2-week period, which we, you know, Vinny and I talked about it and we had to stop the bleeding.
Is that the high or is that the average?
So, go ahead.
Those were the average coming in before ESS.
Okay.
And then we worked, as ESS started to take traction in the district, we worked to get those down.
Right.
And now they're around the $5,000 to $7,000 range.
Okay, so that's a significant savings every 2 weeks.
Jill?
I just wanted to say thank you because I saw the lawn signs all over. I thought the QR code was fabulous. I love the fact that, you know, you gave up your evening and you went and you attract these people. You have really given far more than 100% trying. You're really trying to get the subs in, and I just want to say, as a parent, thank you.
Thank you.
When you're finished, I'll hold till the end.
Sure. Okay. So just some next steps. We have really thought about this. We've had a lot of discussions on possible options, and we're open to, you know, I could put option 3, 4, and 5 up here too as the board discusses this, but these were kind of our 2 options. Option 1 would be our recommendation as administration to the board. We could continue the use of ESS and monitor performance. And if we did that if we get some real data from September through December, because we have some decent data right now, it's not, again, where we would like it to be, but if we can get some more data under our belt, work closely with them at the start of the next academic year, well, starting in the summer and then through the next academic year, we could even, you know, we could work with Mr. Zittimer and Mr. Caravello with the contract, maybe there's a clause in there that says, look, you know, we expect the performance to continue to increase, and should it not, then we part our separate ways. And we gave it a great try. We did everything we could. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we make an informed decision after December of 2022. Option 2, we could pull the plug right now. Well, not right now, let's call it September. We pull the plug, and over this course of this summer, which would be a pretty heavy lift for us, not to say it's impossible, but we would then take all of the management of hiring and retaining substitutes locally here at MTPS and take that back on. What could we do with that? We could, without having any budget implications, we could go up to $135 per day. Right now we're at $105, and then we pay that $30, assuming you're paying the $105 rate, $30 to ESS. We could take that entire payment and just pass it on to the substitute. But again, we can't ignore the fact that we have 27% more than we had before. So we would be foolish to think that everything would be perfect come September if we took this on ourselves. But it is an option.
I have a question. So if I recall correctly, Freehold Borough went up to $150 a day and still had difficulty with finding enough subs. Do we know what the county average is? I mean, we know what the county, who's paying what for subs, but do we know if sub fill rates went up after the amount was increased? Do we know those percentages?
I can take that one. So I actually talked to Mr. Howell even this week, and oops, sorry, closer. How about now? Is that better?
Great.
Got to be all up on it. Okay. So I talked to the superintendent, who's Joe Howell. I talked to him initially months ago, and then I talked to him again this week. And initially, it really didn't make a difference. When I talked to him this week, he's seen a little bit of an increase and has some steady subs. However, they are so much smaller than we are that steady subs in Freehold Borough is just a fraction of what we need. So I don't think anyone has seen a market increase, skyrocket because they've just simply raised their rates. This is, quite frankly, it's happening all over. But to answer the second part of your question, yes, we are very competitive with the county, with Manalapan, with Howell, with Freehold. We are all right in line with all of those lines. And and Mike and Vinny and I and Paul, we've had really good hard discussions because this is one of those situations where we can only use the data that we have. We don't like the fill rates. We'll all acknowledge that. Mr. Paterno, you've hinted a couple times that, wouldn't it just be better to just pass that money on to the employee? It may be. It may be. The problem with that is that right now we have more than we had. I would have zero problems saying, hey, I'm fine with pulling the plug out of the wall if it didn't go anywhere, but it did go up. It's just not where we want. So when we really sit down to think about it, we have invested time, we have brought people over, we started our initiative to come in and to visit and to sign up, and we literally ran around helping everyone complete the application. There were people in there that completed on their phone. There were people there that needed help because they lived in Arkansas at some point. So we were trying to navigate all of those different aspects. But we really got to a point where we think giving them till December really to put up or shut up really is kind of the way. And if they don't, then we work with Mark and with Vin and put language in there and just separate. And I think honestly that puts us in the best spot so that we work with them all summer, we monitor, and we quite honestly sit down with ESS and convey that we're not happy with the level of coverage that we're seeing. We still want more. We want our fill rates to probably be somewhere in the 70s. That's where we really want them to be. And we have already conveyed this to them. And I think we just have to continue. But we do really think that's the best recommendation, but recognizing that we're not happy and there could very seriously be an exit strategy that we'd have to execute if they don't improve their fill rates.
I have a question. Okay. Okay, actually, I have a lot of questions and thoughts. So one, I probably have more. Okay, so if we do option one, which is wait until the end of December, and they still just didn't get up to that number that we wanted them to get up to, where do we go from there? If it's a heavy lift this summer, if we let go of them now, and we have the summer to find those subs, and that's a heavy lift, is it going to be an even heavier lift come the end of December, January for us? Because we're in school at that point with 1 week off versus 3 months off. So that's something to consider.
Can you give us one at a time?
What'd you say?
Can you give us one at a time?
Okay, yeah.
'Cause when you give us three, we
Okay,
go back and say,
okay.
here's one, and we don't
Okay.
go 2 and 3. I mean, the answer is, I think it'll be a heavy lift at any point in time. I think, any big transition like that would be a lift. It just, we'd have to acknowledge, personally, if you back all the way out of it, Mike hit the nail on the head in saying that starting in March, substitutes are creatures of habit. If you've ever been to substitute or ever worked in a building with substitutes, people are very comfortable. When I subbed, there used to be that 5 a.m. call. That's how it used to be. And I would always say, well, which district is it? And then I would weigh, the wages and figure it out back when I was, 19 and 20 and 21. So in thinking like that, I'm not shocked that it didn't light on fire from March. We did start midstream. That's just a fact. But giving them the year to start out, we kind of think
It'll be easier.
Yeah.
But when I ask, not just is it a heavy lift now, like you mentioned that it's a heavy lift now, will it be an even heavier lift, do you think, then, because we won't have the time that we have now? Like, we have a little bit of downtime now because we're not in session, so we actually don't need those subs right now. But if we do it in January and we're in desperate need for subs and we don't have, are we?
I think that, Mike and Paul jump into, I think what has to happen in the summer, it's not really downtime, because quite frankly, ESS has to be out there and recruiting subs to come
Right, but
here.
they're doing it not while we're in need of the subs. Like, if we go back in January and we let go of ESS and suddenly we need all these subs and we don't have these subs, what are we doing besides, just the backfill?
Well, yeah, because we wouldn't have maintained our list. At that
Yeah.
point, we don't have a list, right?
We would know, we would know absolutely our list. Our list is always our list of people who are consistently here.
But either way, so prior to ESS, when we really looked at our entire list, our list included, I think it was about 100 people, and we only had 23, 24 active substitutes on our Marlboro list before we signed on with ESS. So could we be back in that boat, or maybe fewer? Absolutely.
Right. Okay, and then my next question is the size of our district. So I was actually surprised, and maybe I just didn't think about it, but our need and number of subs that we actually need on a regular basis is quite high. So I guess when we're comparing ourselves to other districts and prices and everything, I think that's one thing that rates, I should say, that's one thing we need to consider. Not for our budgeting, but in regards to our needs. So this is a vote, because I'm all over the place, like on what decision we should do, but this would be a vote for us for ESS because we need so many subs. I didn't realize how high of a sub headcount we actually have on a daily basis. And I guess it's because we have a larger district. Okay, and then the next thing is, when you mentioned it to ESS that we're not happy and that we want to be at the 70%, what was their response? Like, we can get there?
Yes.
Or was it, New Jersey's struggling, we're going to do the best that we can? What was their response?
We did have that conversation. We sat in the old boardroom. Now it's a big conference room for us, and we brought Patrick in from ESS, and Brian, his manager, was also on the call virtually, and he said, yes, they are confident that they can get us there. They use Middletown as an example, which is double our size, and those are the rates they're pulling in for them. And I think they've been
70?
with them. Yes,
70%
low 70s.
And how long did it take them, or is it just because they started at the start of the school year?
So they've been, I don't know exactly how many years they've been with them, but it wasn't just this school year. So they've been with them probably at least 2, maybe even 3.
What are they paying them?
Do you have Middletown's rate?
And also, this might not be a question you can answer, but how long did it take them to get to that 70% fill rate?
I could ask them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
I'm done. Thank you.
Sure.
Good.
I have a question too. We were so January, February, we were at 43 and 45%. Is that the normal rate in the scenario that we were at? Like, we as a district, were we ever at 70% fill rate, and it's all of a sudden an anomaly that we're at 43?
So, are you talking pre-COVID, post?
Pre-COVID, like, yeah, like
Yeah.
what's normal?
So we've, as a district, we've gone through a lot of different changes in terms of substitutes. I remember when I was teaching here, we had a substitute caller. She actually still works in the district, but she physically got on the phone, called, and those rates were most likely probably higher. She developed relationships with people. She knew who liked what. She knew her audience. She knew who to call. When we transitioned to Frontline, which is the online system where subs can actually go in and choose, they have a little more discretion on what the job is, which building it's in, so they can, to Dr. Hibbs's point, they can sit on their couch and say, no, I don't want that one. That's the middle school, it's a little early. I'm going out Thursday night, it's way too early for middle school for Friday. You know, they can kind of, they have a lot more discretion on where they go, who the class is for. That's a phys ed class, I don't want to wear sneakers, or that is a phys ed class, I want to wear sneakers. They can pick and choose. Back, you know, way back when it was, hey, we need you at Memorial, and you will get your assignment when you walk in the building.
Okay, so we moved to Frontline 2 years ago, 3 years ago. How long have we been doing before we ESS?
It's more than 2.
Okay, but at that point then, when we transitioned from the friendly person that knew you to the Frontline, what was our fill rate? Was our fill rate?
I don't know the percentage exactly, but I know the fill rates were not in the 40s.
They were what?
They were not in the 40s. They were higher than that.
Higher than the, okay.
Yes.
All right. We went up 11%. In reality, what were you actually, like, everything was going to be roses. What were you actually hoping for? Were you hoping that we would turn on the spigot and we would get to 70s?
Yep.
That's what you're hoping for? Okay. When you talk about December 22, kind of thinking along what Susie was saying, it would feel a little awkward to then all of a sudden flip the switch. January 3rd, we come back and we have a list that isn't necessarily our list, right? Because those people were qualified through ESS, but they're not qualified through Paul and our system. So we'd have to go through all of that again. So if we were to, I guess between option 1 and option 2, if we were to say, excuse me, let's pull the plug. I waited all this time to talk, and now I can't talk. Would it make more sense than to just commit through the 22-23 school year and then decide to pull the plug? Because that just timing feels very awkward to me. And I do have one more question.
Sure. So let me just respond to that. So we were having discussions just among all of us, and you know, some of us were thinking, should we give them a month? Should we give them 2 months? Should we give them a marking period? Hey, maybe we should give them half a year. Vinny, actually, Vinny, you were the one who said, I actually think we should give them the full year, because then you kind of give them an entire year, forget about this year, right? So give them the entire next academic year to really either do it or not. And then that maybe addresses Susie's concern, Mr. Schramm, sorry, to generally, you know, have a plan and then not need subs tomorrow, but need subs in 2 months, and have that plan within district. So we could move that needle.
Maybe that conversation is give them the full year, but do 2 massive check-ins, one at the end of December and then one early spring. And then if we don't like early spring, I think that's plenty of time. We put them on notice and say, listen, it hasn't worked out, we have to break up. and then we then start our full court press for transitioning all the internal subs out, and then putting it out there that we're going to raise our rates, set the rate, and then try to just.
I do have two more questions though. Wait, sorry, everyone's raising hands, but if I like that idea, and then maybe this is contractual, but then we need to set the expectation. Like, we were hoping we'd be at 70, we raised 11. By, let's say, October, we need to be at 60, and November we need to be at 65, so that we hit those milestones and hold them accountable. But financially, just because I don't want to forget this, it's very confusing. We're talking about, you know, we spend 5,000 here, 26 here, 23 there. Now that you have January's numbers, February's numbers, let's forget March because it's crazy, but let's look from January, just look at January and look at April. And you don't have the answer right now, so I'm not asking for the answer in this moment. But we spent $100 in, I know it's not a real number, $100 in January, and now in April we're spending, you know, 50, or whatever that is. But can you, instead of like these weird numbers all over the place, can we look at the bottom line, like as it hits our budget, what are we actually talking about?
On average, they were 26,000. So in 1 month, you were spending 52,000. So if you equate just the average, in a quarter, you're spending 200 grand just alone on Miss Preps. So, I mean,
So
in a
what,
third
so
of the
to
school year.
Aldo's point, what are we paying ESS?
ESS, we're paying 105, and we looked at the rates today from the other neighboring districts, and we're right on the money with where they're paying.
No,
Freehold
wait,
Borough-
105, like bottom line numbers, like the 30, whatever, the 30, he was extrapolating math, I'm not sure it was accurate math because.
I'm confused what question you're
Christine,
asking.
what am I saying?
105.
No, because what
Our bill,
basically.
what are we paying ESS on a monthly
Right,
basis?
so it costs the district because we're paying
In
preps, blah, blah,
comparison
blah.
to.
We paid X amount of dollars, but now we're doing less of that. We're still doing some of that, but we're doing less of that. And now to Aldo's point, we're taking that $30 per whatever person or whatever that is. Okay, what's the actual number?
You
At
wanna
the
see a
bottom
net
line,
breakdown.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Apples to apples.
Right, like a net breakdown of, yeah.
And
I
you
see
probably
what you're
can't
saying.
answer that right now, and that's
No,
okay, but
no.
I think that would be helpful, because right now
Yeah, I
it
mean,
just
the
seems like a lot of.
invoices vary depending on
Month.
depending each pay period, what you have to fill. So one I think we saw was 7 grand.
7,000, yeah.
And then another one was 9 grand because there was more people out that had to be covered.
Well, we could do that.
We
Can
could
we, like,
definitely
can we
do
just
that.
look
Yeah.
at like 25 people? Like, it costs us 25, whatever. And again, like, maybe I'm not saying it right, but if
You
we
were saying
needed
if-
25 subs in January, what do we pay to get that
I mean,
versus
I-
25 subs
Coverages.
in April? Thank you,
Just from,
Michael.
just from reviewing the bills and going over what the preps are now, you can definitely see on average they're cut in half. So if you were paying Miss Preps 26,000 on average, and the bill is 10,000 from ESS and now 5,000 Miss Preps, you are saving money in the long run as far as the way we were doing it, which was paying teachers to cover classrooms, or doing the service with the service fee on top of it. So you are saving close to around 8,000 to 10,000 per pay period by doing it this way. Now, it's not-
Even paying
yeah.
ESS.
Correct.
So
I can get the exact numbers at the end of the fiscal year. When we get to June 30th, I can compile what we paid on Miss Preps throughout the year, and then I can compile exactly what we paid ESS from March, I think 8th or 11th to,
7th, yeah.
to June
Do you think
30th.
that would be like helpful, like
Yeah.
those numbers?
Now again, ESS is going to look like it saved money because again, it's a small sample size compared to what we were doing the whole school year, which was Miss Preps.
Right, well, I guess that's why I'm saying let's make it apples to apples, if not necessarily total numbers, but like the amount of coverage, right?
But again, everybody's hourly is going to be different, so
Because
again,
there's
it is
different
going to be
rates
an
depending on
average.
how many years they've been teaching.
As close as you can get.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hold you to the dollar, I'm just thinking of like, just overall reach numbers.
Is it all right if I just chime in real quick? All right. So, first of all, thank you for putting all
You're
this
welcome.
together. Based on the way that ESS presented their services to us when they had the rep here and we were asking the questions and we bombarded Vinny with questions, I had gone back just to get I went back to watch the meeting to get the numbers in my head, so I knew what I was talking about. But, I mean, they were talking about during COVID, their goal, we were told that the goal would be 75% with them once we signed on. Well, I knew it wasn't going to happen immediately, but they said 75% during the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, they said that it would be somewhere between 85 and 90%. Now, listen, the 85 to 90% sounds amazing, but it's never, it's not happening now. The 75% would be amazing also, but I think with the contract coming up, I think the discussion has to be had with them. We're paying $30 per sub per day with the notion that we were going to hit 75%, and we only hit 55%. I think proportionally that $30 per day needs to be renegotiated to a lower rate because we're paying too much for something we're not getting. You know what I'm saying? We should be paying 15 a day or something like, let's just say 15 a day per sub instead of 30, because we went from 45 to 55%, not 45 to 75%. Like, if you just look at the numbers, they're at like 60% of what they said they were going to be, That being said, and I'm using the 75%, forget about if we use the 85 to 90. I'm considering this still pandemic.
Believe me, I think they want to get to the higher fill rate, the better, because they don't get paid unless they fill positions.
Right.
They don't get their service fee on top of who's
Well,
covering
I
them.
mean, I'm just saying, the service fee, this contract is up June 30th, right?
Yeah.
So we got to either renew or part ways by June 30th.
Correct.
And then if we renew it, are the terms negotiable up to us?
They're
like
always
December?
negotiable. Originally the rate was about 33%. We got it down to 29%.
Right.
So everything is negotiable, and then we would always run it through our board attorney as far as putting clauses in there or contingencies saying, hey, we'd like you to meet 70% by this date. If not, usually there's a 60-day exit clause.
There's got to be some kind of probationary period for them because they're not performing the way they said they would, and we're paying them what we told them we would. Like, if they want to give us 60% of the service, we'll give them 60% of the fee. It's that simple. I mean,
I don't think it works like that, though, Aldo. I mean, we're not actually paying the $30 because they're not actually here. I understand your concept. We could try. I mean, Vin, Mark, we can go back to ESS and say we want to renegotiate that $30. They could tell us they either will or won't, right? And then at that point, we have to then come back to the board and say what they said. I mean, they might knock a teeny bit off, but I can't imagine that they're going to knock their service fee down. I mean, they're in tons of districts. I think their service fee, quite frankly, is their service fee. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah. I do have some negotiating ideas, but I don't really think it's wise for me to discuss them here in public. But I will certainly talk with the administration. I understand the concept and what we're trying to achieve here, and the fact that we're paying $30 when we should be paying significantly less than that given the fill rate. And maybe we can talk about some sort of sliding scale based on benchmarks.
Yeah, there's got to be some accountability financially when it comes to it because, I'm sure that 11%, eases the burden, but it's not what we were sold.
I have a question for Vinny. I know there's been an uptick in COVID cases. Would you say that we are averaging more teachers being out this year in the spring versus the years prior to the pandemic in the spring? I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the number of people that are out. I'm trying to see if there's a correlation or not.
I mean, we've definitely seen our fill rates drop compared to what they normally used to be. I think that can only be attributed to fear of entering a school, wanting to work in a school environment, people really having the credentials to be a certified substitute in our district. But we have, before I came, I know we never had an issue when it came to, just finding coverage. And then the growing problem of the mispreps started, and that's where it kind of really caught our eye, like, hey, we really need to, try to do something about this, because if you remember all of the transfers that were always on where we were always asking questions, is this to cover subs, is this to cover, that was really to cover mispreps that had to be allocated out of the substitute lines. So.
But I guess my question would be, are more faculty members out this year versus years past? Or if you don't have that number, that's fine, but I would be curious to know.
I don't have that data. All I can say, I was here every day.
We can generally speak to it. Mr. Apollon, I think, can speak to that.
Mr. Apollon, yeah, has the fill. I mean, you have the number of how many positions we've been trying to fill, and they are on our ESS invoices. They'll tell us how many positions that they filled.
And then on top of that, another factor because of the pandemic has been the virtual option, where we had staff members who were out working virtually, but we still needed to have someone in the building. So on top of people being out for other reasons, that is also something that plays a massive part into the whole equation.
So the short answer, yes, because we have staff members who feel well enough to work but cannot come into school for obvious reasons, right? For spreading, and maybe they have mild symptoms, and they tell us, look, and it's only COVID related, so you understand. I think you knew that, but only COVID related illness or symptoms, or even children with symptoms, staff members, we've allowed them to teach remotely, but we still need someone in the classroom to watch the students. But what it does instructionally for us is it enables instruction to continue, as opposed to not, or be a little more minimal. So yes, the answer is yes. There are more people out.
I guess my hope would be that as the numbers come down, then our amount of people who are down, and then the fill rate would be greater. But
Yeah.
again, that's
Yeah, right now, unfortunately, we are, as we near the end of the year, we are in a little bit of an uptick right now, and the end of the year traditionally is always, staff members are out. They save their personal days, they have their own children with moving up ceremonies and graduations and bar mitzvahs, and so we're dealing with a lot of that now. Just the normal springtime absences on top of the uptick is sort of the perfect storm.
Mike, I'm sorry. Just what you just said, I just need clarification. So if a teacher is out, let's say with COVID, I get it. They want to have the integrity of their classroom, their lessons. They know how to teach it best, and it won't disrupt the integrity of their instruction. But does that mean then we're paying that teacher to work virtually in addition to a substitute in the same classroom? So it's a double.
So you would be paying the teacher anyway, right? Because teachers have paid time off, so if the teacher's
Right,
out
but they're
sick-
not in the classroom because someone needs to supervise the children. So then we're also paying a sub.
You're paying a sub to be present in the classroom in front, yes, physically in front with the kids.
Wouldn't it be more advantageous if the teacher just was home, sick, not getting paid, and we just paid the sub? So
But
we're not
teacher-
paying like two.
Teachers have paid sick time, so they use their sick days, they get paid.
What if they don't have paid sick time?
New Jersey law requires it.
What's it?
It's not often.
Just
they're
with
all out of
COVID,
sick-
you mean?
Yeah, it's not often they're all out of sick time.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have very few staff members who have 0 sick days because, well, I'm not sure how New York works, but our sick days accumulate over time. So if they get 12 this year, they get 12 the next year, 12 the next year.
And they can roll.
And they roll. So they accumulate. If you've had several children and
Right.
that sort of thing, then
You're
then,
negative.
Sometimes they get down, but oftentimes 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 times out of 10, people plan well, and sick days are like an insurance binder. They save them, so when they really need them, they can use them, and we pay them. That's their paid time off.
So, real quick, I'm sorry, I'm just going to chime in, but based on the numbers that we're looking at now, we were paying before ESS $2,600 a day on average for missed preps for the teachers. That number, based on the new numbers from the 26,000 going down to 7,000 every 2 weeks. That number effectively goes from about 2,600 a day down to 700 a day, which happens to be roughly the same cost we're paying ESS and fees, $720 a day for 24 subs. I mean, I see what you guys are saying about it offsetting. I really think it's just a cost to value type of correlation that we need to make with the ESS. My personal opinion, because I understand. Look, if it's helping and if it's getting teachers and bodies in the building and it's alleviating a huge financial burden for the missed preps, then that's a good thing. But at the same point, I just can't, the $30 was based on parameters that aren't being met. I really think if it is something that's going to continue, I think we should try to negotiate with them. It's really the only way I could, I mean, in my mind, that I could see it being advantageous to continue.
So I just want to understand this and wrap my head around this. So we have other districts that are similar to our district. Let's take Middletown, right? They have more employees, yes?
Mhm.
So their fill rate has to be larger, right?
Yes.
Logically speaking, yes? Okay. They've had it for over a year, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So you can say that, I would say that it must be working or they would have stopped it, yes? There's other districts, East Brunswick has it, yes?
I don't know.
They do.
Okay.
Do other districts have it around the area? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's not a trick question, it's just simply.
I was gonna go with yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the question is, argument's sake, would it not make, if other districts are doing it and is successful, what is the alternative from doing ESS? Because that would be the argument. The argument is that I hear the back and forth and I hear the conversation, but ultimately we have other districts that are using it. It is effective, or they would have stopped it. We have only had it for 2 months.
That's a better chance.
Not a great sample size at this point. So just let it, in my opinion, let it organically work, see what happens. If we can negotiate, negotiate. But I find it hard to believe that these districts are continuing to pay something that's not working. There's too many of them. It's just not one district, it's not 2 districts, it's not 3 districts, it's many that are large that have to fill. So that's where I stand with that. My opinion is we don't know enough. If we can negotiate, negotiate. But what's the alternative? The alternative is let's let go of ESS and then let's go back to where we were. That doesn't make sense to me, logically speaking. So that's where my head is at, but I hear everybody else's thoughts. That's just where my head is at, so everybody knows what I'm thinking. There you go.
What is actually the ask of us as a board tonight? What are you looking for
No
us
ask.
to say option 1 or option 2? No, this is just,
no ask,
okay.
yeah.
Just
We-
consider
yeah.
it.
So we had, Mr. Petruno asked for fill rates. We had said we'd put it on in May. And I think these are great discussions. And no one has the right answer. We could keep ESS. They might not meet our fill rates. We could cut ESS. We could do okay. We could cut ESS and we could tank. There's no playbook. The last 3 years have been probably the most turbulent times that any of us have seen in most of our lives. So I think that if you don't water it, it's not going to grow. And I think, Dr. Heller has a great point that there are a lot of places that this is working and working well. But I think Mr. Petruno has a great point. They did not meet their goals, so let's go back and try to negotiate.
Yeah, but not only negotiate, but I think maybe we could try and work with them to see, maybe if they can provide data to us, like which district has the highest fill rate? What are they doing different than we are? What are they paying? We got to start. 54% ain't cutting it. Like we got to get that number higher. So.
Okay. Yeah, I piggyback on what Alda says. I mean, are we able to get evidence? Use other districts for examples to say this is what we're doing. This is what the fee is. This is what's happening. I mean, it's not like they're in another state. They're in New Jersey and they're not in another county. They're in Monmouth County. So the more information that we have, the stronger it is for the position of one versus the other, A versus B. So it's just helpful for everyone in the end, I think.
So why don't we, in between this meeting and the June regular, let's ask these questions and we'll come back with that data for you. Is that okay? And then along with the other questions that we wrote down, we'll pull as well.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Thank you. Great job, Mike.
Thanks so
Great
much.
job.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we are going to move on to another subject, which is the presentation, Dr. Hibbs, about COVID-19 and looking back.
Yes, we do. Yes. Oh, no, No, I'm just joking.
Okay. All right, so I took a different stab at this. We actually had an incredible Google Summit last Friday, and I participated in part of the keynote, and I put a Wordle up that was actually very similar as well. So can you read that from where you are? Okay, awesome. Better eyes than I do. So I really took probably a few hours and kind of brain dumped out of my head the last 3 years, which have been the hardest 3 years of my professional life. I think every parent can say the same thing. I think every child can say that it's been such a weird, strange time, and just when you think you're getting out of it, all of a sudden in May, which doesn't make any sense, it upticks, which was the exact opposite of where we were last year. Come May last year, we were waiting for the sun to come out and get outside, and everything, got better for the summer. So, if you take a look at just some of the words that are up here, words like exhaustion, everyone's tired. I don't know how you feel, but I was June tired as of like October 1, which for me is really not normal. I really am pretty decently energetic all the time, and I think that all of our staff could say the same exact thing, because it's almost like you went from running a normal race to doing a mud run, only it was a 45-mile mud run uphill. That's really how hard it's been for everybody in everything. Everything got harder, everything. Food services, take a second, talk about Vinny and Chartwell's. I don't really have words to express what they did, and our drivers, by the way, who were amazing throughout COVID, that really just, we dropped food everywhere, all over town, and we didn't just drop food as a district, we dropped groceries, we dropped medicine, so we partnered with Township, and at that point, Councilman Cantor, to really work hard to make a difference in Marlboro, and I think that's something we're very, very proud of. And you can see at the very bottom, the hometown hero, Vin. Vin was the first hometown hero in Marlboro and was recognized for doing all those great things. Working together, we really had to redefine what this really looked like, because in a moment's notice, the blink of an eye, and I can tell you where I was actually in Long Branch's library, because that's where we used to have our superintendent roundtable meetings, and it was that March, and we were all together, and I'd like to say we were intellectually discussing, but it really was kind of a really big argument at that point. And I actually raised my hand in the midst of about 60 superintendents, because you had people in that moment, just like you had all over, right? Everybody had different feelings. There were people that felt that it was a real thing, and people that thought it was a not real thing, and you had people right down the middle, and I raised my hand and I said, I don't know what you people were talking about, they just shut down the NBA. And if you just stop there for a moment and think about what that means, the NBA got shut down, $1 billion industry. I knew in that moment, aside from all the other things, that was my moment of truth. We came back, and then that's when we actually transitioned to virtual. We were among the first, and then it kind of dominoed down. And that really led to the next word, which is isolation, because for months upon months, each and every one of us had to deal with this word in a different way, right? And I don't know what your experiences were. I look back at my family. We had a lot of together time, and there were some great things about that I'll never forget. And there's also times where, you walked outside by yourself because you just needed a minute, right? And you stayed 12 feet away from everybody because you're afraid of everything, in that moment. Pacing guides, that's right underneath isolation, and this is really kind of flight of ideas. Marlboro does a really good job with our pacing guides, and we do a very strong job with our curriculum, and that's all thanks to Mr. Ballone and his leadership and all of our supervisors and our teachers. We were tight, so we didn't have to worry in that moment about, well, what are we teaching next? We're not here together to talk about it. We had that embedded into our fabric, which is something that Marlboro does super, super well. Policy changes, this isn't like normal policy. I will speak honestly, because I think this actually came from Mr. Davelman, who was sitting somewhere over there at that point, and he requested a COVID introspective or retrospective. And, when I look back at what I went through as a leader, I can say this was probably, I was very conflicted at times because I knew that there's certain things that I had to do or I would risk personal harm to the district or myself. And I didn't agree with everything. I didn't agree with everything at all that went. And looking backwards, there's a lot of things that I think could have been done very differently. And I'm not talking about me at this point. There's always things that I could do differently, because I'll talk in a little bit about some of the things that I think we learned. But, you know, just in all, there was really a lack of communication with us, just across the board. And I'm not going to ever say that I have led a state or a country through, a pandemic like we went through. However, I did lead a pretty big district, and I do recognize the importance of communicating and talking and sitting down and meeting and planning. And one of the things, looking backward, we always learned on Facebook or Twitter with everybody else. It was constantly stated that, people were a part of the planning process. That was hard to wrap my head around, because at times we weren't really asked our opinions a lot. That's just an honest response. And I think that led to feelings of frustration and exhaustion. If you take a look at the apple itself, being isolated from others, the constantly changing landscape, that was something that we had to deal with almost on a daily basis, from the Department of Health, from the CDC. Where are we today? Today it's 6 feet. Before that, maybe now, and then it changes to 4 feet. And the concepts that just kept getting thrown at us that we had to constantly adapt to, and I think we did a very good job of it, but it was very frustrating. It was frustrating to us as leaders, frustrating to children, frustrating to parents, because at times some of these decisions just didn't seem to make sense. They really didn't. And we watched this from ground up, and I think I've said this example before. We had the opportunity last summer to sit down with a lot of the top docs, and they really talk about the fact that they didn't know what to do in this moment. They really didn't. They absolutely, they figured it out, as we went. And, if you really stop and back out of it, this kind of situation hadn't happened in about 100 years. So there really was no one that led through this before. So no one knew what we were doing. And we had to all figure it out. Dedication. Our staff was incredible and is incredible. They rose in every sense of the word and continue to rise. I put on here importance of referendums, and I'm not being snarky in any way, shape, or form. We had a few referendums fail, some of which had a tax decrease, which would have then given us air conditioning, which would have given us better air filtration, and that would have been all taken care of. So really looking backwards, that's something, when you reflect, they're super important, and we couldn't get it done. Our Chromebook plan. There are those in the past that tried to stop this dead in its tracks, and thank gosh that didn't happen, because if that would have happened, our kids wouldn't have had technology, and then where would we have been? We would have been lost, completely lost. But in a moment, we could, deploy all of our Chromebooks, sitting down by just making a plan, and thankfully, with the support of the board, every year that's where we are, to keep replenishing so that we're not in a spot where we didn't have enough. And you know how this world was, right? We couldn't buy paper towels for a while, you couldn't get wipes, and anyone who ordered technology was on a 5-year wait list, right? It's like, better off trying to get a Tesla at that point than a Chromebook. Systems processes were super important for us, which I think that we did a very good job of. A great example would be Mrs. Gross and Zoom. We believe strongly in staff development, so we took one of our PD sessions and I think we actually Zoomed and we taught Zoom all at the same time. So we really, in that moment, to transition to that virtual world, we really did a great job in doing that. Individualized experiences, I think, in reflecting, each and every one of us took something different away from the last 3 years. If we polled the room, we probably have, 30 or 40, whatever, how many people, different takes on what actually happened. Importance of leadership, I thought that was a really important one. I can tell you that as far as meetings went, From that March on, I think we went from meeting monthly at an administrative meeting to probably almost every other day. If not that, then absolutely weekly. And that was even in the summer. And typically in the summer, we have vacation schedules and people kind of scatter to the different, their different places of solace. The last 3 years haven't looked like that. We've constantly been working. I put nursing suites on here, again, not to be snarky, but really this allowed us to put all of our nurses at MMS together in one room, which was super important because now we didn't have nurses at opposite ends of the building. They were working together, they were contact tracing. It was really super important to have them all together. That was one of the best things we did at MMS. Late nights, put that one on here. I don't know how everybody here felt, but we transitioned to home. I would work all day, and then I'd scarf down dinner, and then my laptop would be in my lap, and I felt guilty because I'd never worked from home. Obviously, being a teacher, vice principal, principal, director of curriculum, superintendent, I never worked from home. So I felt guilty at 6 o'clock not looking at my laptop. So really, it was almost that training of it's okay to stop working at 8 o'clock at night and be present with your family and play the board game or go for the walk or the bike ride, because it's just really super important. But we all put in late nights, teachers put in late nights, calling children, developing lessons, working on their online profiles to make sure we did things the right way. Counselors, our counselors are incredible and worked so hard and continue to work so hard, as does our child study team members and all of our teachers. Everybody, all of our staff in general have just, they've worked so hard and continue to work hard. Full day K, right? Thank gosh we went to full day K a few years back, because we would have brought kids back on a half-day schedule. That would have been, in my opinion, that would have been awful. So thank gosh that we transitioned, thankfully, to full day K years ago. Our online programs, we get recognized by every online program that we use for our efficiency, for our growth. White papers after white papers that show that Marlboro children achieve at amazing levels. Achieve 3,000, we achieved 7 times the national average, even through COVID. So they did a white paper on us before COVID, they did a white paper on us during COVID, because we were actually among the top school districts in the world, not just the country, in achievement. Purell, who would have known that we needed hundreds and hundreds of gallons of Purell, right? But that's a good one that will always stay. So you talk about what will stay, that kind of stuff will always stay now, on our watch, because it's just really important. I'm not in charge of buying the cleaning supplies in my house, although I do food shop. It takes me 4 times as long as my awesome wife. However, wipes and sanitizer, we went and learned a lot on that. And that was a constant process. That would have been Vinny working with Mike, figuring out, listen, there's a new solution, and if we spray, it'll give us 90 days to kill the virus. Awesome, let's move on it. The electrostatic sprayers, let's move on it. So a lot of things that we did in that moment, including Purell and cleaning supplies. We had to acknowledge a lack of control here. I don't know how you are in your houses and your homes, but it's nice to be in control. I felt like we were totally spinning, off our axis during the last 3 years. And we had to acknowledge that, and we had to acknowledge there was certain things that and I'll even say personally, that I just could not change, right? I tried my very best never to judge, always to honor and to hear people. And we had people who felt on this side and people who felt on this side, and I tried very hard to always be the kind of person that recognizes that feelings are feelings and feelings are not right or wrong, and that we have to all acknowledge that as part of this process. I mentioned Chromebooks. Actually, I didn't mention frustration. That's a word that we felt all the time. I learned, again, because I always knew how exemplary we are in so many ways, but there was just, lesson after lesson, example after example of seeing just different, small, incredible things about our district. Seeing that, our drivers were leaving little notes for our children on their windows, and seeing that our teachers were checking in after hours, knowing that kids were working in a Google Doc and Mrs. Smith would pop in and be like, hey, what's up? You need help with that right now? I can help you, even though it's 9 o'clock at night. I got you, kid. You know, it happened time and time and time and time again here. We learned about constant change. It was really 3 years of constant change. I put lack of guidance on here. I really already talked to that. That is something that we all felt. And, you know, I have a very strong group of superintendent administrators, and we relied heavily on each other to really, you know, what are you doing with this and how are you handling that? And that's a consistent thread of what we felt. How important it is to reach and teach, you know, especially trying to do the impossible job. You know, one of the things that made me laugh the most, and not in a good way, is when people would say things like, oh, you're in education, you just need to transition to teaching online. You know, colleges did it and the workforce did it, and just do it. And that sounds wonderful until you really think about, you're talking about kindergartners and preschoolers and first graders, and how we were asked to do, in my opinion, which was the impossible. I mean, think about that. We went right out of the gate to not having even a platform, because that first, you know, March, we were posting a lot of our info to the website, right, Mike? Website. And that transitioned into Google Classroom, which transitioned into Zoom and online lessons. And we were one of those districts that had the online lessons from that second year on, period. Not a lot of places did. And, you know, it wasn't even an option for us. We're going online, and there were always massive problems with that, right? I mean, you're trying to teach kids at times that are all home, and then we're teaching half kids at home and half kids in front. So it was just, any way you turned, it was just absolutely hard. Board support. I don't think there was anything that I asked of you that you didn't give me. So from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. I will never tell you my job is easy. I think everyone at that table can acknowledge that my job at times is downright impossible, right? I try to make it all happen, right? With a lot of help from a lot of people. But without you, we didn't do anything. And when I came to you and said, we need all this Purell, go. When I came to you and said, listen, let's use some of our money on active panels, go. You were incredible. So, and at times I think that you don't get anywhere near the amount of credit that you get, that you should get, because without you, we did nothing. So you were amazing, truly amazing. Curriculum, we talked about how strong that was, ever-changing rules, how important it was to quick think, how much harder everything was. Our school nurses, take just a second and talk about our school nurses. Wow. Wow, are we lucky, first off, because in case you don't know what we have, we typically, at middle schools, we have 2 each, and then every elementary, including Abbott, has 1. Not every district has that. We're very lucky, we're very blessed. And our nurses, really, they were just truly warriors throughout all of this. To the point where, you know, it's Friday night, and they thought they were going home, they get the phone call, and they're walking back in with their tape measure. If you would give me $1 million 10 years ago and said, hey, your school nurses are gonna be measuring distances in your buildings, I'd have been like, nope, $1 million in, total winner. Would have lost every penny. They were just, there's not even words about our school nurses. And you wouldn't see these discussions, but we had hard discussions all the time. Good intellectual discussions about where we needed to be and what we needed to do and how we needed to interpret. And those discussions continue. Sorry, progressive lenses. I talked about the impossible ask of transition, mental health. We are seeing right now the effects of what we think, you know, is the pandemic. We see mental health being a massive priority in our district and also the world. So we are also seeing behaviors that we've honestly, to the degree that we're seeing, have never seen, even in Marlboro. And it's, our staff is rising, and it's exhausting at times, and we're meeting the needs of all of our kids and doing whatever needs to be done, period. And we will continue to do so. And what we're going to do this summer is really take a look at, you know, at our supports that we have, i.e. our gen ed psychologists and our gen ed social worker, and I may come to you with a different proposition on something that we may look at for behavior after I have data, but it's something that we have to realize for the next few years is the reality. We have to support our kids, period. And it's super, super, super important. As is communication, I talked about that. I talked about transitioning to virtual life. Anger was a big one. I think, and we saw it here, we saw it at board meetings, we saw it probably on the soccer field, anger over opinions, anger over the state. And I think, unfortunately, we all have a tipping full point that we all as human beings just sometimes hit. And I think that a lot of us had that frustration and that anger over certain things because, we really didn't know how to help maybe our child at home the way that we wanted to. And typically that child would be with a teacher and maybe we don't know how to teach that math problem the way that the teacher was teaching it or, the children learn it. So, anger, I think, sometimes happened as well. So I think that really hits pretty much everything. Teamwork, I didn't talk about teamwork, but we were a team all the way through. Sick time was interesting. We actually took the adage with our staff members that when they had COVID, even still, they don't hit their sick day bank, and that just is what it is because we realize that this is just the world that we live in. We honestly, for a district of about almost 5,000 kids and 900 plus staff members, we try to be as empathetic and sympathetic with everything that we go through and still trying to adhere to rules and procedures because we are a very big organization. So, but we very much realize, how hard it's all been for everybody. I don't think I put my administrators or my principals on here. I have Mr. Pagliaro in the back. I want to publicly thank all of them for all of the nighttime meetings and, just the massive amount of extra hours, that happened. And I'm going to finish with this. I'm going to say hi to my mom first because she's watching. So hi, Mom. For those of you that don't know, I'm adopted. I've been adopted my whole life. I've always been very at peace with my life. And probably about 3 years ago now, Bella looked at me, my youngest, and said to me, "Hey, Dad, did you ever think about figuring out what your heritage is?" And I honestly didn't really want to do it. I was always comfortable with just at peace with myself. I was always okay with it. And I said, "Boo," call her Boo. I'm like, "No, I really don't want to do that." And she's like, "But Dad, how am I going to figure out what I am until you figure out what you are?" I was like, "Oh, you're so smart." Okay, fine. So I spit in the cup, which, in case any of you have never done, takes about 45 hours, right? You have literally no saliva left in your body. You guys, anybody have rituals that you did during COVID that maybe stuck or didn't stick? Anybody have special things you can think of, right? Ours was about once a month, we went into the Italian market in Philadelphia. I live way south, so we would drive in, all masked up, and we would go and we'd buy our 45 pounds of chicken, right, and our London broils, and we would go to Claudio's and we buy our cheeses and stuff, and it was all, I married a great Italian woman, and I was in the chicken store, and I don't know how you were during COVID, but I feel like if I didn't look at my phone the minute it dinged, there was a problem, right? 'Cause that's what I felt like it was. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm solving problems, I'm responding. And standing with Dom, Dom's my son, and it was an email from my birth mom. And she literally reached out and said, I don't know if you were born at Jean's Hospital on December 21st, but if you were, I'm your mom. And from that moment, I connected with my birth mom. So not all bad came from the last 3 years. There's a lot of really good, and I think we have to focus on that. And I think it's really important to always remember that we have the opportunity when darkness comes to bring it back into the light or get stuck in the dark. And we have to really make the positive be positive, and we have to always look at the things that we didn't necessarily do well and try to improve. If you said to me, "Eric, make a list of the things that we didn't do well," top of the list would have been our epic fail with our internet. It just didn't all work, and we had to revamp, right? And there's no way in that moment, looking backwards, if I had a crystal ball, what I would have done, I would have actually tried to test the number of Zooms, but I don't know that I would have even thought to do that in that moment. And I kind of think of a lot That, I don't know if that would have been a thought in my brain, but if I could go back and fix anything, I would totally fix that piece. Totally fix that piece. That's the big thing that I think, set us back a teeny bit. And, it's just one of those things that I think that at the end of the day, we have to learn from and we fixed. And 100 years from now, it's not going to be me that'll deal with it. And hopefully they'll look back and be like, make sure that your web filter could handle that piece. But that's our COVID retrospective. Anybody have any questions? Good? Okay. Thanks, everybody. I was actually, I was more Italian. My wife doesn't watch this, so I can say this. I was more Italian than my wife, which ended up being funny. So yeah, had some English, had some German, and I made Bella happy. And she, and
that's
she,
what
thanks
matters.
for asking.
And you found your mom.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for that. That was actually pretty cool to go through. And if you don't mind, I just three things that I just wrote down as you were talking that kind of stuck out with me. With the staff, the dedication and perseverance was unreal. I mean, it really was. I can't believe the things that I saw from the start of COVID to now, teachers and principals and everyone going above and beyond. The students, I saw it with my own kids, the resiliency, it's amazing what these kids can go through and still bounce back and be 100%. And I mean, and even with the entire community, noticing that there was, everybody had their own comfort zone, and that, there was a lot of personal choices that was it. So what one choice, it wasn't a one size fits all, like we had said, what was good for one family may not have been good for another, and you had to learn to respect and, take that into consideration with everyone else. And, but I really appreciate you sharing that. That was cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say, listen, nobody could have ever guessed what came out of that. And Aldo, you're correct. The resilience of kids is bar none. I mean, if you work with children, they are so resilient when it really comes down to it. Sometimes the parents are not as resilient as the kids. That's the honest truth, okay? What the teachers did, what the kids did. I had kids in 4 different rooms, in addition to myself and my wife. We had 6 separate, it was crazy, with computers going on, maybe some screaming going on, yelling, crying, whatever. There were different emotions going on, and I think we all individually had that in our homes. And it's amazing the reflection that you just went back. It's just like, wow, we went through that, we made it, we did make it. We made it, we're making it, we're doing more better than most, thankfully. But yeah, just to piggyback on that, it's just, that's a really lot, and thank you for, sharing that.
Yeah, and the best part about that piece, not the best part, I'm not really a crier. A few times in my life, I'm not a crier, and I was crying so hard in the chicken store, and Dominic didn't know what to do with me. He literally just goes like this, and he's just banging on me, and I'm like, whoa. And then my wife comes in, she's like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, ah.
That's
so
awesome.
it was awesome. It was
cool.
awesome.
Good stuff, man.
It was awesome, just all around. The rest of it, we could all probably go back and give it all back, and hope that we get back to normal. I'm not looking to extend this at all. In case anybody wants to ask me, do we have any intention of masking? The answer is absolutely not. You can duct tape me and zip tie me and make my mouth speak with a meme and tell me but no, we are not wearing masks right now. It is not even a conversation point in any way, shape, or form. And I have to be honest, I think when and if it's ever mandated again, that we need to take a very strong approach with the concept of personal choice. Mm-hmm. Because I really feel as if, and I'll just talk about the world in general, and then I will absolutely stop talking. We are approaching as a world where the concept of choice is being taken away from us and I'm not quite sure what's happening with our world, but I think that we as a group moving forward, I look backwards and I think I was a very good soldier. I think I did what needed to be done in the moment, and I think that we've all learned that maybe we weren't provided all the information in some way, shape, or form. So moving forward, you know, absolutely no concept of Hibbs saying masks on. Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing such a personal story.
You're welcome.
I remember as you were going
Yeah.
through that, it was, you know, COVID was awful, but there were moments of greatness, you know, personally and publicly. And what you all did here in this district was amazing. And the teachers and the principals and the staff, amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It really is such a great place, and we can always have pockets of things to improve. We can, but Marlboro is truly amazing. It really is.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And also you reflected on what decisions were made prior that enabled us to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you there were hundreds upon hundreds of districts that were not prepared. We were totally prepared because of decisions that were made in previous,
Yep.
you know, years prior to that.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So with that being said, we're going to go to the fun stuff, public comments. Those who wish to speak should state their full name and place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth or debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to inquiry or comment. Again, no back and forth. Be respectful and civil. School board members and administration will withhold comment until after public comment. Vin?
Sure, I have one on my list, Mrs. Annette Seward.
Annette Seward, 18 Nashua Drive. I'm so glad Mr. Pagliaro stayed because I came out tonight to give props to Dugan. My big shout out was that I was asked to be a chaperone on the 5th grade trip to Washington Crossings last week. Thank you to the districts for treating the chaperones to that trip. That was a nice surprise to walk in to a check, so thank you so much for that. The 5th graders were ecstatic to be together, obnoxious on the bus, but it was really nice to see them celebrating and making memories together, so I really did come out for that. I had a question regarding the ESS though, after watching your very thorough discussion. Is this the same discussion that had happened behind closed scenes when we chose ESS? Because I feel like a lot of the questions asked tonight should have been asked before we chose ESS as the company. Also, has the board discussed a social media campaign to hire subs? Because as a hairdresser who relies largely on social media to build my brand, I think that maybe taking to the social media outlet to rally and spread the word about the happenings here in Marlboro and why you would want to sub in Marlboro, I think that would be a great incentive. And Dr. Hibbs, my family is heavily affected by adoption. So I think it's super cool that you have had peace with that part of your life, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Vin?
If there's anyone else that would like to speak.
Hi. Oh, scary. I just wanted to thank you first for.
You just have to state your name and.
Sorry, I feel like you already know me.
Yeah.
Val Mendez, Marlboro, New Jersey. I just wanted to say thank you for looking back on the craziest couple of 3 years that we've had. A few things that I wanted to point out and just say is the staff here. I just want to commend them. I know I always do, but during the pandemic, I have one child who has ADHD, and they were just texting me, calling me, constantly reaching out if he was missing something, just really, you know, staying on top of it. I just can't tell you how absolutely amazing they are. The other piece is you said that you would look at, over the summer, your mental health resources, which I know you have some out there. I think that's super important, and I'd love to just, you know, if you can present at some point next year, you know, on if any findings that you have. It is a real crisis. I know we've all been probably hit by it. I dealt with it firsthand, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic. it was just horrible. So with that being said, you know, any additional resources that will be available to students would be really helpful and informative. And just thank you for the masking comment. I was going to ask you that, but I was a little scared. I don't want to go there, but I was just going to just ask generic what the plan was. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so administrators and/or board members will respond afterward. I'd like to make a motion to close public comments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Trish, any discussion? I see none. Oh, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Would anyone from the board or the administration like to comment?
I can take it for Annette.
Yeah.
So thank you for the thank you. I'm glad you had a great time. That's great. Yes, we did ask those good, hard questions, and Mike referenced a meeting we just had where we let Patrick know 100% that we were unhappy. So there's no way that they walked away from that meeting not understanding that even though they increased some, that they're okay where they are. So a lot of those, the things that we talked about were all constant things. Social media, we can absolutely, I think we can always probably do more there. So thank you for that. You know, and thank you for the reflection comment. Thank you for thanking the staff, and I'll be happy to put the mental health as, you know, a discussion point in the future.
As far as mental health, that's been one of my biggest things. If anybody knows me, that's my #1 item. It's always been. It's an initiative that I started. Dr. Hibbs could attribute to that. We got a lot of things taken care of prior to COVID. So prior to COVID, that was #1. It is again going to be my #1, as many parents have. I know factually that is important to them, because if a child is unable to handle things in their own personal self, it's impossible for them to do it educationally. So that is very important, and I know that Dr. Hibbs will be on top of that with his staff, who have been outstanding, and it is something that I've always been aware of and always been asking questions and everything else.
Yeah, and you're actually modest. You are. Dr. Heller, you know, a few years back, asked a lot of really good hard questions, and that led to all of our middle school counselors doing a baseline check-in with all of our kids, you know, making sure that out of the gate they're having those conversations right out of the gate. We hadn't been doing that, you know, to a systemic process before that. So that's one of the things that, you know, you push us on really hard to make us better. Yeah.
It takes a community, and that's really, I believe that wholeheartedly, regardless of, you know, thoughts, because everybody has different thoughts. It's all about collectiveness and coming together and everything else. So I appreciate that. Would anybody else like to make a comment or administration?
I would.
Jess?
So this board has 3 counselors on it. I, in my own profession, have seen an uptick in behaviors and mental health related to the pandemic. I think it's important that we talk about increasing resources, because what we have is great, but 1 counselor for 400 kids is not enough throughout the day, whether it's increasing counselors or getting like a Rutgers-based outreach, or there's so many different programs. I think it's something to talk about, as well as an addition of BCBAs. And I think going forward, I would like to see that brought up.
Sure. All right, so Rutgers is in the hopper for next year.
Okay.
We have the quote, right, Mike? So that's a great.
If I may, we got, because I want to talk about this because it's very important. You remember when I came to you, talked about Rutgers? This was something that was pre-COVID.
Yep.
We had this already. Rutgers came to us and spoke to us as a group of board, certain board members and professionals that work for Marlboro, meaning teachers, child study team, and etc. And then then we had that conversation and everything else, and now what's coming of that?
Well, Rutgers is coming back online for 22-23.
Okay.
Because they haven't been online during COVID, because it was just was too much going on, and they didn't actually do the same type of coming in, because people really shut their doors and shut their doors. So Rutgers is back on. So, you mentioned BCBAs. I think that we have to look, in my opinion, we're taking a good hard look at our CST to see if we need any more in that realm. And then in addition, do we possibly need something else like maybe another gen ed social worker that could work? Something that could take some of the burden off of what we see, which I think is just what you're talking about is, the day in the life of a counselor is you could probably never even pee, right? And literally go all the way go all the way through. And I think that we have to look at that and recognize that for the next few years, this is where we're going to be, and we have to reflect on what that has shown us and the current level of support, and do we need more? Whether it's BCBA, whether it's more counseling, whether it's other a gen ed social worker, whether it's an additional actual CST social worker to round out the team at Asher or Robertsville, those are all conversations that we're engaging in to make sure that we're not only supporting our staff, but then our kids in just the right way, because we all know that everybody's job, again, it's been like running through the mud, right? So hard.
Well, and it's great that, I understand what Randy's saying, like, yes, our kids have been resilient, but you're gonna actually hear it as part of my Freehold Regional Report, like their stats, and you mentioned it too, like there's more problematic behaviors, so yes, the kids were absolutely resilient, I'm not taking that away, but the mental health issues are through the roof.
So I have a question. I was thinking, because of the Freehold Regional, and middle school, so like for the younger kids, for elementary, like my daughter has this like, she's major anxiety, major. Seeing someone older than her, like high school or even middle school, would help her instead of just an adult. You know what I mean? Is that something that we can look into? Like
peer buddy type thing?
Like peer, I don't know.
Yeah, we can look into it, sure.
Like a middle school mentor?
I'm not you just got to be very careful because of training.
Yeah.
Well,
I would not with counselors too.
Right, and I think that's for the job of the administration to figure out.
Right.
I just feel like we take such an emphasis on education here, which it should be. I mean, that's what everybody comes to Marlboro for. But I think what they're looking to do, and I don't want to speak for you, but we put just as much emphasis as we're like number one in mental health or doing something for the kids I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that we have things right now that people don't realize we have. Like we've had 2 gen ed psychologists at the middle schools. I mean, longer than I've been here. I mean, years upon years. Not everywhere has things like that, but we're finding that just because we're lucky and blessed to have those positions, COVID has exposed the need for more, just more and more and more. So I will definitely come back with some things that we're going to look to do a little differently, maybe by looking at our resources and figuring out how to do it just maybe a teeny different way, and I'll address all of these things for you.
Thank you.
Of course. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to move on to communications. Dr. Hibbs, communications, please.
No, sir.
Okay, Dr. Hibbs, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report for April 28th to May 11th, 2022.
4 incidents, sir.
Okay. And meeting dates, Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, regular meeting. Christina, can you please read approval of minutes?
Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings be approved as submitted. April 12th, 2022 workshop meeting, April 26th, 2022 executive meeting, May 3rd, 2022 executive meeting. I so move.
Great. Do I have a second? Jill, I have a second. Any discussion? I see none. Vin, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
Yes.
Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem?
Yes.
Mrs. Salaci?
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. Vin, secretary and business report, please.
Yep, so these are the board secretary's monthly certification for the month ending in April 30th, 2022.
Thank you. Vin, payroll certification, please.
Sure. The payroll submitted for the month of April in the amount of 5.7 million.
Thank you. Susie, can you please read financial and business operation matters, please?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, transfers. 2, list of bills. 3, secretary monthly reconciliation reports. 4, harassment, intimidation, bullying report. 5, travel. 6, amended resolution, donation from Marlboro Education Foundation. 7, participation in coordinated transportation. 8, approval of agreement with JMI Enterprises. 9, tax levy. 10, approval of agreement with Bayada Home Healthcare for the provision of nursing services for case number 936. Number 11, amended resolution out of district placement. 12, award of bid, food service management company contract. 13, appropriation of additional play proceeds. 14, approval of agreement of partial wireless access point projects. 15, donation. 16, donation. 17, donation. 18, amended resolution, state contract purchase, custom bandag for tires and tire-related services for the 21-22 school year. 19, amended resolution, approval of shared services agreement with the Township of Marlboro. 20, school bus emergency evacuation drill report. 21, state contract purchases. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Christina, second. Any discussion?
It was Jess.
Oh,
I didn't
Jess?
say it.
Oh, I thought it.
I leaned, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I saw you lean. I was like, okay. So that's Jess. I'm so sorry, Jess.
It's okay.
Any discussion? I see none. Vinnie, roll call, please.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mrs. Salaci?
I abstained first from 6 and 17 because I'm a trustee of Marlboro Educational Foundation, and yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
I'm abstaining from number 5 and yes to everything else.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. So please give me a minute or so to recognize the following donations. First, $23,000. 2,300. I will be. That was yes. That's a big difference. They still help us out. The Frank DeFino Central Elementary PTO toward the purchase of the cafeteria projector setup. 1,530. I'll say it that way better. From Asher Holmes Elementary PTA toward the purchase of the cafeteria projector setup, and $420 from Marlboro Educational Foundation for the purchase of 42 copies of what is called What You Do with an Idea from Kobe Yamada in memory of Mrs. Luciano. Thank you. I don't want to butcher that. Luciano. Third grade teacher from Dugan Elementary. So I want to thank those organizations. Thank you so much. Again, I'm going to say this again. It takes a community. I appreciate anyone who wants to provide generously. We thank you. So thank you. So I'm going to move forward with personnel matters. Jen, can you please read personnel matters, but please stop at each colon for efficiency. They're shown.
Okay.
You'll understand.
Okay, the superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, retirement. 2, employment. Just stop
Keep on
there.
going. No, but yeah. If it's
Instructional
colon,
assistant.
Yeah. Just,
3, non-aligned certificated administrators. 4, amended salaries. 5, reassignment certificated staff. 2021-2022 school
Yeah,
year.
good stop.
I-
Yeah, you can go. Go. Yeah. Sorry.
6, reassignment.
I'm gonna stay out of this. Let you do it.
Certificated staff, 2022,
I just don't want you to read
23. I got you. 7, reassignments and amended salary, non-certificated staff. 8, curriculum virtual facilitator for C-level and accelerated math program. 9, school counseling, summer work. 10, curriculum writing, ELA, curriculum guide revisions, grade K through 5. 11, curriculum writing, ELA, curriculum guide revisions, grades 6 through 8. 12, curriculum writing, Greek and Latin, curriculum guide revisions, grade K through 3. 13, curriculum writing, Greek and Latin, curriculum guide revisions, grade 4 through 8. 14, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, curriculum guide revisions, gifted literacy, kindergarten. 15, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, curriculum guide revisions, STEM, grade K through 5. 16, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, curriculum guide revisions, philosophy, grade 2 through 5. 17, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, curriculum guide revisions, dive in and discover, grade 3. Curriculum writing, gifted and talented, curriculum guide revisions, follow the leader, grade 3. 19, curriculum writing, ELA, diversity and inclusion, grade K through 8. Curriculum writing, math, gifted and talented, so stop at math.
Yeah, stop before, after stop the colon.
Curriculum writing, math. 21, curriculum writing, math. 22, curriculum writing, math. 23, my son's calling, math. 24, curriculum writing, math. 25, curriculum writing, math. 26, curriculum writing, math. 27, curriculum writing, math. 28,
Just say curriculum writing through.
curriculum writing,
Number 77.
okay, so curriculum writing is 28,
Through number 77.
through number 77.
Yes, you've been there for 50 minutes.
Through number 77.
Number 78.
I gotcha.
Page 40.
Where is that? Page 70, page 40, number 78. Paid medical disability leaves. Is everyone with me on page 40?
Yes, I am, girlfriend.
All
You got
right.
it.
Page 41. 79. Unpaid leaves of absence. You didn't want to hear me talk?
I always want to hear you talk, but I didn't want to.
Trying to save your voice box.
Number 80, amended resolution leave dates. And B, C, D, E, F.
That's it.
I so moved.
Thank you, Jen. Anyone want to do a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Tricia. Any discussion on that? Okay, Christina, then Alda.
With all that curriculum writing, Mr. Balloon, I was just wondering, we were talking several meetings ago about the health curriculum and how we would put on the agenda for the summer to have someone write up that curriculum. I didn't see it here. Did I miss it? No.
No, you didn't miss it. So what we had talked about was that we wouldn't be putting it on the agenda because that would require us to pay staff members. So I'm going to be doing that work personally with Mr. Tagenhorst, who's the supervisor of PE and comprehensive health. And then we will convene a meeting with the curriculum committee to determine some of those minor changes that were made, because if you recall, the lion's share of the work was done last summer and approved by the Board of Education with that minor change that we took out the parenthetical.
Right.
So any of those other changes that we did discuss, we will personally be doing throughout the summer, and then we'll bring it to the curriculum committee.
So to be more specific, that taking out the family life curriculum, and then also we had talked about scripting lessons, grades 5 through 8, that's going to be done with you in the health?
Yes, yeah, we're also
Teacher.
identifying, we're going to identify some of the sensitive standards and,
Yeah.
and list them as we discussed in the Genesis Parent Portal for parents to sign off on.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Over the summer, he's going to work on it.
Thank you for that information, Mr. Balloon.
Sure.
I just had a question. All of these different items that were for curriculum writing, being that this is the first time I'm seeing it, as a board member, but is this like normal every year that we just, so every May it just comes down that all this curriculum writing comes down and we put the money towards it for? Okay. All right, thank you. That was just a basic question.
Tricia? Oh, did you
No,
want
no,
to
go
say
ahead.
something? You don't? Oh, I thought you wanted to say something. No?
No, good.
No, okay.
No, just to piggyback, I think on Christina's question, we had talked about trying to make the curriculum guides easier for parents to like understand. Is that part of what you're going to also be doing?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yep, we have a whole list of things that we discussed, and
Yes. Okay, perfect.
we had mentioned, since the budget had already been submitted,
Right.
we didn't have the budget to hire teachers for it, so we'll be doing it.
So you have a
So
full,
thank you for that.
Yeah, so you have
You're
a full
welcome.
packed summer.
Got a big summer.
We have a full summer.
Okay.
Is that also including what Ms. Vanedum had mentioned about like a workshop for parents as well, like putting together maybe something for them as well?
Yeah, I think we had discussed
Yeah.
perhaps having a webinar.
Yeah, after it's all wrapped up, to talk about where we are, how our approach is, let parents ask questions, guardian ask questions, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Oh.
Yeah, it may actually make more sense not to do that in the summer and maybe the beginning of the
Correct,
fall.
yeah.
But why don't we run that through you and the curriculum committee? Because I'd
we can talk
rather,
about
I want to get the most bang for the buck.
Absolutely, thank
And those topics typically aren't addressed in the beginning, so.
So, we had a discussion. I see no more. Vin, roll call, please.
Okay, before roll call, I have to read 1 through 80 again.
Yes.
No.
No. Very-
Roll call vote, Mr. Petruno,
Yes.
Ms. Piernick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado,
Yes.
Mrs. Shrem,
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Branch,
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi,
Yes.
and Dr. Heller.
Yes. Mr. Balone, do you have any letters to read?
Yes, I do. I have retirement comments for Sue Prisco. Mrs. Sue Prisco has faithfully served the children of Marlboro Township Public Schools as an instructional assistant for the past 18 years. She spent the majority of her time in the district at Abbott working in our preschool program. Sue has remained a student on her craft, working diligently to learn our programs and methods. She has worked closely with teachers to learn the unique needs of each student and tailor specific programs to meet their needs. She can often be found working with a student on a specific skill, providing students a break in the hallway or consulting with a teacher about an upcoming lesson. Her dedication and willingness to learn have made her a true asset to both the staff and students she works with. When asked what she's most proud of, she noted that making a difference in children's lives has been the most rewarding aspect of her time with us. Working so closely with individual students, Sue loves to watch them learn and grow, as well as help them become all they can be. She noted that her time here helped her develop a passion for special education that she will carry with her. Finally, Sue noted that she loves the staff she works with and will miss them. In retirement, she's looking forward to the upcoming arrival of her new grandbaby. Sue's also looking forward to the flexibility that retirement provides. In closing, her experience and dedication will be greatly missed. However, we all wish her a very happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And good luck. Good luck in retirement. I'm jealous.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, absolutely. So we're going to move on to organizational delegates. Jill, anything from Freehold Regional High School?
Yes, Kathleen couldn't attend tonight, so she sent me some information that I will read. She said tonight is the junior prom at Southgate and Freehold. I assume that's Marlboro High School. I don't know which high school that is. And there's going to be a senior prom at Ocean Place in Long Branch on June 10th. Dr. Sampson had the biannual violence report, and the one thing that stood out, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, was the increase in fighting. There were 14 more fights in 2021 versus 2019. There's especially a notable increase in the amount of freshmen getting into fights, which it's another, that Dr. Sampson said was another consequence of socialization being stunted due to the closing of schools. They approved a new principal at Manalapan High School, who was an assistant principal at Colts Neck. They also, FYI, in case you didn't get the email, they approved a change in the calendar, so those kids have off this Friday. So they're gonna have off this Friday and have a 4-day weekend. And also, just as a nice little shout out to teachers, Tom Pelfrey, who you might know him from, Ozark, and he's a new thing on Amazon Prime. He was the the brother who is bipolar. That's one of his many roles. He is a graduate of FPAC, and during Teacher Appreciation Week, he was invited on Jimmy Fallon to do his promotion, and he gave a shout out to Kaz, who is the drama teacher at, it's hard for me not to get emotional. He was a graduate teacher at FPAC, and Tom Felfrey started getting all choked up saying, this guy changed my life, and he turned the lights on. Tom Pelfrey's just a boy from Howell. And he was like, he did everything for me, and he's the reason I'm here. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, great. And I get choked up because he just did so many things, amazing things for my own daughter. And he's retiring. So shout out to the fantastic, these are your tax dollars at work, people. You know, like they're changing lives. And these people, there's incredible success for years at FPAC because of Steve Kazikoff. So there you go.
Great story.
That's cool.
He's an amazing actor too. That was his role.
Yeah, no, and he's won Emmy, but there's like all these students who won Emmys and everything because of Steve Kazikoff. So I saw that last week. It was on, they posted it on Twitter, so.
Sweet. Wow, good. Christina, anything from Marlboro Township Alliance? No.
None to report.
Okay. Jill, anything from Marlboro County School Board Association?
That would not be me, that's
That would be Jen, okay. Always good.
So yes.
Oh, wait, did I screw up? No.
No.
No, I got it, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Monmouth County's meeting, we had our last meeting on May 12th. It's a mess. Last meeting of the year. And they recognized everyone, all the awards. They had board certification, they had master board certification, they had certified board leader, master board member certification, certified board member certification, and new board member certification. So all those people got awarded.
And which one did you get?
I got the new board member certification.
Pretty awesome.
Thank you very much. So it was very nice meeting. We had the Monmouth County Superintendent was there. Dr. Les Richens. They talked about the NJSBA workshop in 2022 in October, and it's going to be in person. So that was that for Monmouth County. It was good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, congrats.
I know how much you love it. That's great.
Trish, anything from the municipal government?
So, you can still register for the Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony, which is going to be held Sunday, May 22nd at 1 p.m. Brush and bulk pickup is nearing the final week, so we remind residents, this is from Lynn, that no lawn debris can be curbside, but you can bring it to the recycling center at no charge. The Marlboro Farmers Market opens for the season on Sunday, June 5th from 9 to 1. So please check the website and the social media for details. The final date to register your dog or cat without late fee or penalty is May 31st. The information is on the township website. Community development informs residents that we are in the busy season for home sales. Even in advance of putting your home on the market, contact the building department to ensure that permits have been opened and closed for items such as finished basements, gazebos, sheds, raised patios, to ensure a smooth closing on your home if in fact you are selling. Many spring programs are coming, so please sign up for emails on the township website. That's from the town.
Okay, thank you. Aldo, anything from the NJSBA?
No, nothing to report.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, sorry. I was at the delegate meeting on Saturday for the NJSBA and the delegate assembly, and they said goodbye to Dr. Larry Feinstad because he's retiring, retiring, and they announced the new executive director, Tim Purnell. That was on Saturday, so Tim Purnell was voted in.
Superintendent Somerville? Executive County of Mars. Oh, there was? Okay, Somerville, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that was this past Saturday.
Cool, thank you.
Great.
Susie, anything from the PTO, PTA?
No, we haven't had a meeting since our last one.
Not.
Yep.
Okay, Jess, anything from Scope?
Yes.
Yes, the Walk for Change raised over $7,900. Thank you for all the generosity. It will go a long way to support students in special education and inclusion initiatives throughout the district and the community. And again, that money was given to the MEF, who will be awarding grants to teachers who put in for it.
Thank you to both very much. MEF came to the rescue there.
Yes, they did. Can I also do CPAG?
I was just going to say, Jess, anything from CPAC?
Yes. Sorry, notes everywhere. CPAG celebrated Special Education Week from May 8th to May 14th by giving the Board of Ed, the Transportation Department, and each school a tabletop filled with pens and a corresponding card to show appreciation for the Marlboro Township Public Schools staff who work collaboratively in supporting special education students daily. Upcoming event is on June 2nd at 7:00 p.m. CPAG is hosting a Zoom session regarding Disney vacation planning and TSA tips for traveling with children who have special needs.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's cool. Anything else?
Just David Abbott, whenever you get there.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Jen, anything from the Marlboro Educational Foundation?
Yes. On Thursday, we are looking forward to having our big Wizards game Thursday night at the high school, Marlboro High School. And we can't wait to see the MVP, Dr. Hibbs, his skill on the courts. We're ready.
What time do doors open?
Doors are
7.
7?
Yeah, arrive at 6.
Arrive at 6?
No, for other people.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be there 5.
Jen, are tickets still sold out or people can still buy?
You can buy at the door.
Okay.
Cool. So now we're going to move on to school liaisons. Aldo, anything from Asher Holmes?
Yeah, from Asher, we have the pillar of the month for May is digital citizenship. They celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. The PTA held the flower sale. There was a fundraiser at Burger Bros. An ice cream social during recess for the kids, which was probably awesome. They have the this Friday coming up is the color run. I know my kids are really excited for it, so I'm sure it's going to be a good event. The middle school music recruitment during grade 5 lunch, and NJSLA for grades 3 through 5. That's it.
Sweet, thank you. Jess, anything from Abbott?
Yes, a lot of activities planned. The May fundraiser will be held at Pliables on Route 520 in Marlboro on Friday, May 20th from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please mention Abbott Early Learning Center when purchasing so that we get a proceed of purchases made. Field Day will be held on Thursday, May 26th with the rain date of May 27th. Volunteers are needed, so if you're interested, please go to daelcpto.com. The Spring Fling will be held on Thursday, May 26th from 4:30 to 6:30. There's going to be games and a petting zoo. It is $12 for children aged 2 and up. Adults are free. You can get an add-on food ticket for $5. Great deal. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, order your pre-K and K graduation lawn signs. If you have any questions, please email ptodaelc@gmail with any questions. Orders are due by May 23rd. Also, thank you to the PTO who dropped off caterpillars to all the classrooms. Students will watch them transform into butterflies.
That is so cool. Jen, anything from Defina?
Yes, so they have, oh goodness. So they have their 5th grade moving up yard signs that you can get up until May 31st. And they have their field day on June 20th. Their book fair, it's a buy one, get one book fair from June 6th to June 9th. And their ice cream social is on June 21st from 11 to 1.
Can I add one more?
Sure, thank you.
So, it was probably a few weeks back, Dr. Stradek, he actually reached out. Yeah, you want to do it? You want to do it?
Nope, go for it.
You sure?
You got it.
So Dr. Strack asked, listen, if we raise what we're trying to raise, which was $25,000 for the fun run, can I sleep on the roof? So Vin and I, we talked about it, and we're like, well, it's a new roof, it's probably not the best call, So, but I said to Dave, I'm like, listen, you hit 25K, I'll sleep in the parking lot with you, and they hit it. So, so June 2nd, Dave and I are sleeping out in Tofino's parking lot. We're gonna make it a huge deal. Dave, we're trying to.
Are you live streaming it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we
honestly,
get a live stream
I kind of
that?
want it to be just anybody who wants to come, come
Wait,
play.
June 2nd, you're sleeping in the parking lot.
Sleep in the parking lot, Tofino. Yeah, we're gonna try and maybe.
Are you going to get a blow-up mattress?
They
Are you gonna
raised
Yeah,
actually
I'm
$25,000.
gonna need
sleep
something.
Concrete.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can
yeah,
we get
so
that on the district's
we're gonna be
website?
there all night, sleeping in the parking lot.
$25,000. That's
They
amazing.
raised $25,000 for the fun run. It was unreal.
That's awesome.
Just totally unreal. So we're sleeping out. So we're gonna plan the event. There might be food trucks. There might be all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
so
that'd be
Yes.
fine.
I was gonna say, like,
When
tea,
is it, June
coffee?
2nd?
I want like cornhole. I mean, we'll keep it clean, but like
Wait,
it's
did
gonna be
you
a lot
say
of fun.
June 2nd?
June 2nd.
What
yeah.
day of the week is that?
That's a Thursday. Thursday and
Oh,
a Friday.
yeah. Food trucks and everything. We can get a
Let's do it.
DJ.
We got this. So
That's
we'd love to see everybody come by. It'd be fun.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So it's really cool stuff.
I say live stream. That would be awesome.
Shout out to Dr. Straddick for trying to sleep on the roof, and then I'm like, I'll sleep with you, and he's like, okay, we made it. Like, wow, it was like 2 days later too. So I think he was he was already there, and he's like, ha ha ha, I gotcha.
Reels you in, yeah.
So
Which
it's
school
gonna
is
be
that
fun.
at? Which school is this at, Dr. Abrams?
Tofino.
At Tofino.
That's great. Jill, anything from Dugan?
Yes, I do. We also are having the 5th grade lawn sign. And our deadline is May 17th. And if you have any questions, just reach out to Marianne Gagliano or Megan Lee at mtmosk@yahoo. Dugan is also having an ice cream social on May 24th during school hours. The 5th grade show is going to be on May 25th. And very importantly, and I'm sure Robin's very happy I'm announcing this, Dugan needs help for their next school year. Volunteers are needed. They need a corresponding secretary, a VP of school support. And if you are interested, just talk to this lovely lady who's always coming to our room, Robin Bornstein, by the 18th. And we are also having the 6th annual Dugan Art Show on Thursday, June 9th at the Dugan Cafeterium from 5 to 7. And let's see, I don't want to get in trouble, so let's make sure I covered everything. Yep, and School Spirit Day is the 27th. But yes, please volunteer. And I'm, after 15 consecutive years, I'm finally going to be leaving Dugan, so they're going to need a new box tops lady too. So, I love you, but I'm not doing box tops anymore.
So see, anything from Marlboro Elementary?
Okay, so let's see. Yard signs are also for sale. Tonight was a band concert. Tonight was also the Moe's fundraiser, which was really good. It was like a big box of, just broken down all the items for tacos, which was amazing.
Cool.
Totally fed my family tonight, which was fantastic. And thank you, Jen, for dropping it off at my house. Morel is doing all the field trips. The 3rd graders, I know, have another one coming up. 1st graders just did it. 2nd graders just did it. Did the 4th, I don't know if the 4th and 5th graders did yet, but everyone in the school has a field trip, which is amazing. We also have coming up the Fit-a-thon. We also have field day. We also have our 50th anniversary. And according to my boys, there are 24 days of school left.
Oh.
Can you believe that?
Who's counting?
Who's counting?
Clearly. Who's counting? 24 days.
24 days.
I'm jealous. I
Oh
have
my
more than
goodness.
that.
So, Trish, anything from Marlboro Memorial Middle School?
Yes. Well, first off, I just have to say that I was the box top lady too. I didn't know that about you. Okay.
And we both have disfigured hands.
It was like a love.
from-
It was a love-hate. It was a love-hate
scissors.
job. I loved it and I hated it, but I
Yeah.
was happy to do it too. That's so funny. Okay. Conflict managers are conducting middle school transition lessons with the incoming 5th graders. Lessons include things like how to open your locker, how to advocate for yourself, reading a middle school schedule and the middle school sports and activities. So that's pretty awesome. They have their virtual PTA meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. The 6th grade concert is coming up on Thursday the 19th, and the 8th grade graduation is happening on the 17th at 1 p.m. at Brookdale Community College.
Great, thank you. Christina, anything from Robertsville?
Lots from Robertsville. They had the PTO sponsored a Cinco de Mayo treat to the staff. They bought Chipotle and had a beautiful spread displayed so they all could enjoy, and that is not where it ends. Their Teacher Appreciation Week was fantastic. As a teacher myself, I wish I worked there because they got treated to a red carpet celebration. They were giving out awards. They had a popcorn bar another day, a coffee bar with bagel breakfast and muffins, donut bar, the works. It was magnificent. So I know those teachers and staff really appreciated that. On May 10th, they had a Chick-fil-A fundraiser. Thank you to everyone who participated. The book fair was May 9th to the 13th, and each teacher and the library was gifted a book from the PTO. They had a clothing drive on May 14th, Nurse Appreciation Week, a story walk, which was really adorable. They had basically laminated copies of books outside so that kids could get fresh air and enjoy reading in a different way with their classmates and interact with one another over the text. Coming up, the walkathon is May 27th. They're going to be raising money for that. There's awesome prizes. Movie night will be outside on June 3rd. The 5th grade barbecue is at Black Bear on June 10th. Field day is June 17th with a rain date of June 20th. And the Blue Claws game is a fundraiser on June 18th, open to all. That's it. They're doing great things over there.
Thank you. It seems like all the schools are doing great things, so it's awesome. It's great to hear all these things. So now what we're going to do is go on to old business. Anyone have any old business? I see none. So any new business? Anybody have new business?
I have new business.
Christina.
Real quick. So I had to take a workshop for the NJSBA, the governance, as part of our mandated workshops. And they said something interesting, and I wanted to bring it up because I know somebody did at one point. They said almost all districts have a town hall for parents to be able to engage in a back and forth with the board and the administration, so that there isn't that back and forth as much during meetings when we have to have our board business and conduct it. And I was wondering if, just to revisit that, to have a conversation, even at a later date, to see if we can maybe work out something where we could hold a town hall for parents so they could converse with us in a more natural way, conversational, and have that back and forth that I think sometimes they want. I don't know, just bringing it up because it was in the workshop.
No, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, it's something that I definitely want. It's just a matter of logistics. For example, Old Bridge, for example, has their committees where it's not everybody from the board. It's a few board members. They do not videotape it. So what they found, and I've spoken to them, is that the reason they don't videotape it is because when you videotape it, it brings about, it brings an audience that has ulterior motives. And so they decided not to put in videotaping. But they do have where they allow board members with the public to ask questions during those committees. As far as what you're discussing, to piggyback on what you're saying, myself and Trish have spoken at length. We discussed it. it's just that logistical part where there would actually would have to be boundaries, there would have to be rules, there would be et cetera. It wouldn't be for hours upon hours, there would be time limits. I think it's something that definitely should be discussed. And, you know, we do have I'm not suggesting that we move it to any committee like the communications committee, but that is, I don't know what anybody's thoughts about it are. I know there are people that feel that having public speaking is not, I can't speak for other people, but I can only say that they're concerned about having public interaction.
I mean, they were
Everybody
making,
has a point of view on this.
They do, and they were making it more casual, like donuts and coffee with the board and, administration and I think a lot of the public, they speak to us as community members, and we relay that information at board meetings. And we have public comment for everyone to ask the questions related to agenda items, but like Trish had once said, it's for us to conduct the board business and get that done. And I thought, to have a forum, and it doesn't even have to happen every month. Even if you did it once every 6 months, you had a town hall where everyone could bring their concerns or things or questions, ideas to us and have a more casual conversation without us having to have an agenda. I don't know how that would work. I'm sure there's a lot of legality in it.
And to pick this.
Sorry.
I'll let you. I just want to say something. What I want to say with that is that, the thing is if we have more than 4 members, it becomes a quorum. A meeting. We could possibly do that. Again, we would have to televise that. We would have to promote that and everything else. Those are the logistics that I do have spoken to other districts. That is really my concern.
What if you had a sign in and you had like say you had X amount of seats that you could have in a space and you knew who was coming ahead of time? I don't know. I think maybe.
Well, is there, just for my own clarification, is there an issue if there is more than 4 board members there, if there's no action being taken?
Like no voting?
Yeah, like if it's if there's no voting or no action being taken, is there an issue with a quorum being assembled?
No, the only constraint is that you have to advertise it as a meeting. It's got to be open to the public. You have to have a public participation, which is easy because that's the whole purpose, obviously.
Right.
But no, action does not have to be taken at a board meeting. You can have a board meeting without action.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, that was just what I was wondering, because I actually, after we had spoken a couple months back about the policy committee, I had actually gone to an Old Bridge meeting that they held, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after our board meeting that we discussed the policy committee, and it was actually really interesting, like the information that they brought about, like, theirs was, it was a combination of like technology and also some special education, but the technology portion, I mean, they were discussing like having like gaming teams, almost like, interscholastic sports, but like gaming, and the information that they were providing was like, it was mind-blowing. I mean, like the market that, like I don't play video games, but I mean, it was, to hear like how excited the kids were about this stuff, and it's something that we wouldn't hear normally, like at a normal board meeting, but they were able to sit, it was very relaxed, like, everyone kind of just sitting where you want, and just having a conversation about it. There was a presentation and then questions, and I mean, I actually left there thinking that I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am fully aware of Old Bridge. I'm fully aware of other districts. Not every district does it. I'm open to conversation about it, but again, it's discussion as a whole. So that's for us to as you brought this up in new business, for us to talk about. Jess, I'm sorry.
No.
Did you have something to say?
I did new board governance also, and that was brought up by somebody. But some of the discussions were also like boundaries and it being a quorum. So a few of the recommendations were to take turns, like meeting different board members at like town activities. So like, I guess Marlboro Day would be one day where like 4 of us could be there, or another activity like a Dr. Hibb sleeping out in the parking lot, like another 4, like not for 5 people to be there. The other recommendation that somebody had brought up was to move the workshop meetings into a town hall, because you're already in a meeting, for people to come up, and there would be no live streaming option for the reasons that Randy had said. I mean, live streaming where you live stream to the community, but no input from online from people in the audience. Those were some of the things that were brought up in my board governance training.
Yeah, and again, I'm open to that. I want something to where, listen, I am not opposed and I'm not against people speaking their mind, say whatever you want, okay? We've had that here. It's not like we haven't had that in this venue. You know, I think it's important that everybody, pose their positions, pose their pros and cons to it, have a discussion. And again, this is something that I discussed even in January. It's not something that I didn't discuss. I discussed this in January. I had said something about having a liaison for the board, where people that those few individuals come together and they speak. They're on behalf of the board, and then they're talking to the public, and maybe shifts, like similar to what Jessica is saying. That was an example. But again, I'm open to the conversation. I just don't know. It's logistical questions that I have, and again, I think it's important to get not only the opinions of other board members, but the administration as well. But I do want this happening. I do want this happening. I do think it can happen. I just don't know. It takes more than just myself. It takes everyone.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
We talked about, the concept is obviously we want people to feel safe, be able to raise their opinions, ask questions, right? So I guess, could we work that into the concept of what we were going to do with the health discussion? So could we maybe in the fall call it a board meeting, have it in person, discuss what your venue looks like, and then merge it. Just merge it, and then we can present on the curriculum and let them ask whatever questions that they.
So you want to do like a town hall, but do like the.
Why don't you just take one of the workshops? Take the workshop.
Right.
Take the workshop in September, October. Present on maybe do your presentation on the health standards, and then open it up to any questions, and then open it up to any questions, and then let her pepper.
That sounds
anything
awesome.
Anything that should come to me or the team, we'll take, and anything that comes to you, you take.
So we would allow then like a natural dialogue then to happen at that point? Yeah,
I don't.
We'd have to figure out how to do it so that people
right.
aren't interrupting each other.
Correct.
They would have to be boundaries, I would believe, but.
And I think you should
We
set
can have a
time.
talking
I think you
piece.
should set time limits so we're not getting home at 4 in the morning.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we can definitely talk about. It is something that I continually think about. It hasn't come to fruition, as you can tell, but I'm not opposed. I've never been opposed to it. I've never been opposed to it. I said it back in January. I still stand by it, but there are logistical concerns that I do have, legitimately, that have been raised not by myself, but by other boards that I have spoken to. I got educated on it, and I really have gotten educated on it, and that's So I'm open to the suggestion what Dr. Hibb said.
So how do we then?
Yeah.
What would be the next steps to making to doing something like that?
That was gonna be my question. Like, if we're open to it, like, what do we have to do next to get that ball rolling?
So it was suggested that maybe an ad hoc type of committee, which is created, where we'll have 4 members that, 3 or 4, it doesn't matter to me, because it's the more the merrier. In order to discuss this, when that ad hoc committee would be, I don't know, but it's something that I can certainly discuss. We can discuss, myself and Trish, to figure out when we would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the thought? Fine. Yeah.
Why don't you come back in June?
Okay.
Talk about it.
Okay. There you go.
Okay,
Fair
thank you.
enough?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So June is when we will come back.
June 21st, right?
With an ad hoc committee and everything else. Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine, absolutely.
Anybody else have any comments? No? Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go back to our second public comments. Those who wish to speak should state their full name and place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use your timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to inquiry or comment. Again, no back and forth. Be respectful and civil. School board members and administration will hold comment until after public comments. Vin?
Sure, Mrs. Mendez, you want to speak again?
I'll be quick. I just wanted to say one thing, and I love the idea of the town hall. We actually have them in our company where people can just kind of ask the executives or senior leaders questions, and there is a time limit. There's a registration process. Sometimes they have to submit the questions in advance, but sometimes when you guys are talking, I'm like, oh my goodness, I could talk about gamification with you, right, on what I do at my job for, employee development and so forth. So I love the idea, so I think that's great. Back to the mental health thing that I raised my hand and I couldn't get up and say it again because I already spoke. But one thing that is important is some things that I've had to set in place that I think would be helpful for others is just letting kids know that there's a safe space for anxiety, along with mental health issues. A lot of children suffer from anxiety. Sometimes it's easiest for them to leave school and go home, and we have to kind of teach them how to build those resources and work through the anxiety attack. So one of the things that I've been working on with some of the team is just how to help the child come down from the anxiety attack, whether it's the breathing techniques or it's, noticing 5 things, right? Smell, taste, and so forth, to bring them back down so they're not trying to leave school, and helping them to build themselves up. Those are important. I think that's important for staff development. The staff is great, but I think that they should all be on the same page with that. And kids knowing that they can go to that safe space, whether it's the counselor or the nurse. Somebody, I think it was you, Jessica, who brought up resources. I think having trained resources as well as teachers, right? Not only counselors, but nurses and teachers as well on those techniques for anxiety. Sometimes there are, from what I've heard, and nothing bad, there are many teachers, counselors, who have an overwhelming amount of students who are suffering from anxiety, and they can't help all of the kids that are there. So I think having trained teachers how to deal with anxiety and depression would be super helpful. I'm not saying they're not, but just making sure that they're all on the same page. It's a huge issue right now, as we all know. And so I think they just need that safe space to go to. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Oh, we'll comment after. Yeah.
Nope. Mr. Bornstein? Nope.
Okay. So administrators or board members will respond afterward. I'd like to make a motion to close public comments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Christina, any discussion? Wait, you did say it this time, right? Okay. Just something. I know. I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Would anyone from the board or the administration like to comment? Aldo?
Yeah, I just, going off of what Ms. Mendez said, is there like, and I'm not familiar with what training teachers or, counselors or anything get, but is there something where teachers are, given like indicators or, like what signs to keep an eye out for anxiety or stress or something like that? It just seems like.
Yeah.
I'm sure there probably is. I just wasn't sure.
Absolutely. There's training done with staff every year. Every year that we exist. The concept of de-escalation is interwoven into all that we do. So yeah, absolutely. I
believe Rutgers offers that to our staff.
That's part of what they do.
Yeah.
Sure. Our counselors do a lot. Our CST does a lot. Our gen ed psychologists do a lot. Our gen ed social worker does all of these things. They work with all of our staff on all of these things. As far as the safe spaces for anxiety, I'll take that back to the team. And then also the concept of, the staff training. I'll come back and report to you on what that looks like.
Dr. Hibbs, so just to add on to that, going off of what Ms. Mendez said, something that was brought up in a committee meeting was calming corners in classrooms.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you need a
Yep.
break, go, you set a timer,
Yep.
and also like sensory rooms adding up. So it is in the works, it's just behind the scenes.
Yep.
And the other thing, to answer Aldo's question, I did find out that like during Anti-Violence Awareness Week, that's when like the counselors, and Dr. Hibbs, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like when they talk about the signs and the
Correct.
warning signs of what to notice in the classroom and who to go to if you're concerned about that.
Yeah, that was pretty much like my concern was just, not concern, but I'm just thinking to myself, like the teachers probably have a lot more face time with the kids than the counselors do, just because of, the ratios. So, it was just a thought in my head, but
Yep.
yeah, that's awesome.
Good thought.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. I think there needs to be more of that. I think, they're like, they're not the gatekeepers, but they're the observers for those who are in education. They know more than sometimes the parents do. And I think that's a great idea. The other thing is back in the day before this all began, when we, heard about Rutgers and everything else, we were also talking about the teachers. The teachers need support. There are educators who are in our classes who are struggling emotionally, and that was an aspect that Rutgers would be bringing to us. And again, I'm familiar with this because of the conversation we had prior to COVID. So for those who are not familiar with it, Rutgers offers that as well. There are other programs as well.
Accurate.
Yeah. So, good stuff.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, statements? Okay. So now we're going to move on to executive session. Executive session resolution. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Marlboro Township Board of Education shall conduct a closed executive session pursuant to the expectations prescribed by NJSA 10:412 for the purpose of discussing matters of attorney-client privilege and personnel matters. It is anticipated that the length of this executive session will be 15 minutes. Is it more than 15 minutes?
15, no action taken.
15 minutes with no action being taken in public after the executive session. Be it further resolved that the minutes of the executive session will be released when the need for confidentiality in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12 no longer applies. I am making a motion to go into executive session. Can I have a second?
Second.
That's Susie. Any discussion? I see none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. All the ayes have it. Good night, everyone. Be safe and healthy. And we'll be meeting where we normally meet.